got a shot headed for the right field corner. Hurley's going to make it to third. Gorman with his second hit. Winning run 90 feet away. Shot to right field, and the Cardinals win it. Pozo's first. Get to first, Joel. He did. And the Redbirds walk it off 5-4.
Before you guys ask the question, whoever started that in right field, I'll do whatever I need to do to make sure they come every game, because that was awesome.
I've never been to the playoffs. That felt like a playoff atmosphere.
Welcome back to Busch. That was a heck of a lot of fun, man. The atmosphere was insane last night. It was really good today. The boys showed up, and I said it last night, you feed off of that. You really do.
Oli, Oli, Oli.
That's what it sounded like over the weekend on Cardinals TV. Alex, this doesn't feel right.
Oh, yeah.
I think we need to get a little something different.
I left for 5 days, and I come back to
Let's do it, T-Bone! Yeah.
I didn't work out this morning. I don't feel it.
Tarps off, T-Bone.
I feel like
I
this
want
is
the big
the
boss to walk
way
by.
I want everyone to
we
walk
need to
by.
do the show today, Alex.
Yeah! We all walk by.
Somebody had to get this going on 101 ESPN alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101
No, a little
ESPN.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable.
Shaved diamonds over there.
Everything about that is what sports are supposed to be, man.
Yeah, no clothes. Hell yeah.
It was organic. It was just some guys getting together, trying to have a good time. Just guys being dudes.
Just some bros banging it out. Tyler O'Neill told us about this, right?
What?
Wasn't that what Tyler O'Neill said?
No.
Just some bros. Oh,
Said it
no.
was sick going back to back with the boys.
That's the same thing. Same
He
thing.
was playing
think
the
it's
Giants
quite the
outfield
same
over there.
thing.
Sick going back to back with the boys is like bros banging it out. Oh!
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line from the 314. Jesus, the one day I actually tune in on YouTube.
Someone said report it to YouTube stream. Katie just texted
YouTube
me.
or OnlyFans, we're not sure, but it's over there for
Katie
you.
just
You guys
texted
giving away the
tips.
goods for free?
I've been told there's no more tax on tips. We'll take them over on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, send those tips. You could Venmo it to all of us, not T-Bone, though, because he won't take his tarps off.
I'm saving all of us.
Katie just texted me and said, your daughter's watching. Put your shirt back on. Hell no.
Dude, so I went to the game on Friday night. I went as a fan. I was up in right field. I was at, as you know, Alex.
I saw
where
you know
sit.
shirt.
I was at the Budweiser Terrace. I had the 2-year-old with us. I was with my mother-in-law and my wife. And we're up there. We're having a good time. It's a normal Friday night at the ballpark. And then suddenly, like 7th, 8th, certainly by the 9th inning, we saw more. We've got a lot of
Mark's like, what in the hell? Tarps off in the hallway.
I should just turn on this camera and have it looking at the hallway.
See who joins?
Tarps off in the hallway.
By the time you get into the 9th inning and certainly in extras, you could feel it. There was a joy and an excitement, and there was something to the crowd that I have not felt at Busch Stadium since 2022. It was different. The atmosphere was actively part of the game, and you could feel the players playing off of the energy that was coming from the fans. That's what this is all about, man. That is why we love sports, because this is the kind of thing that can only happen in sports. There's no other place in the world other than maybe a concert where this kind of energy is possible.
It's youthful energy, and it's perfectly timed.
By the way, somebody said they'll send $20 if T-Bone keeps his shirt on.
I don't know.
T-Bone.
I'll keep my shirt on for $20.
$100 if
I
you'll
was
send
thinking
it with
about
them.
taking it off at the end of the segment, but now I'll keep it on.
Damn it, Tanner. Come on, tarps off, baby.
It's also cold in here.
No, you're fine.
It
Come
feels
on.
pretty good now.
I was going to say, I'm not sweating a little bit ago, so
we
now
were
I feel
also
good.
jumping around, so maybe there was some of that.
And there's a little stress of people walking by with no shirt on. So, you just gotta make it work here. I don't know if we're okay to do this or not, so we're just going to find out as this
I
segment
think
goes.
as long as the pants stay on, we're good.
Oh, no promises
Fredbird
there.
went no pants.
Tarps
Dude,
off,
that was
pants
amazing.
off. I didn't know Fredbird could go tarps off.
I thought Fredbird wore pants.
No, he's like Donald Duck, man. It's energy. You don't have to
I
worry
didn't
about
realize it until he took his shirt off, and it's kind of weird how that's when
You
I
know,
noticed
one or
it.
two when Donald Duck gets out of the shower, he always puts a towel around his waist. Like, you don't have pants on. What are you covering up with the towel? Anyway, that's the youthful energy. And it's perfectly timed because you have a youthful team that has been continuing to surprise people. And that type of environment is what I think Oli has always desired here in St. Louis. I remember a quote he had, was either last year or 2 years ago, and he's like, I remember going to one of those playoff games, I think it was 2006, and he said, I want to get that back at Busch Stadium. You started that homestand with, what was it, like 22,000 people, and by Sunday there was a 38,000 announced attendance. That is growth from something that is completely natural by a group of guys that went to the game and were having fun, and they said, to hell with it. Let's go out to right field, take our shirts off, and get people pumped for this baseball game. And they referenced the football atmosphere that they kind of were inspired by with this one. So I loved everything about this. And as it continued to grow, by Saturday with that game, it's like, man, I hope this thing continues to stay throughout the rest of this season.
Can we make a serious point about what is obviously kind of a ridiculous situation coming out of the weekend?
That you didn't shave before we went on camera?
Oh,
yeah,
never.
I was a little concerned about that, man. I forgot to.
I'm not going to shave this. This is the lettuce.
You want us to wax it off?
I remember doing that.
I've still got that. I've got like one spot. It's kind of, right there.
I still have the
That's
wax.
from Alex, right there.
I still have
That's
the
from
wax
Alex.
and the pregnancy simulator if you want that one. I can do both at the same time.
So I do wonder if there is something that can come out of this where you have like a supporter section at a baseball game. Like, why can't that happen? We have the Budweiser Terrace. You've got the all you can eat, all you can drink area over in left field by Big Mac Land that they're doing this year. You've got your club seats, right, where you're in the suite, and those are, pinkies up type of seats. You've got your nosebleeds up at the very, very top. There's a different atmosphere depending on where you sit at Busch Stadium, and you expect it to be quite different depending on where you sit. T-Bone, you know this. If you go to a City game, there is a section where you know when you buy the ticket, I'm going to be standing the entire game. There may be an annoying-ass flag that is flying in my face the entire game. And there's going to be a whole lot of drunk people shouting the entire game.
Yeah.
But you sign up for that, and you know it going in. And if you want that, it's a really good time. If you don't want it, then sit down the sidelines. Like, there are other seats in the stadium that you can have. Why can't that exist also at a Cardinals game? That's what I don't understand. So JB's
tarps off.
And I got that on camera.
Why can't this be a situation where, I don't know if it's in right field specifically, but somewhere in the stadium they have 3-4 sections where it is a quote-unquote supporter section, and if you buy tickets there, this is the rowdy crowd, and you can be a part of it. You can do the roll call, all that different stuff. I think it's something that should come out of this. Maybe it's not tarps off every time.
No, tarps
but
off
it's
terrace,
something
baby.
like that.
Yeah,
that can exist.
You absolutely should. And especially, like, I loved hearing the guys on TMA today say, like, there was only 17 or 18 of them that were there, and they were like, all right, let's just take the shirts off. And then he said there was a group of kids that were there that were wanting to do it as well.
Yep.
Like, it just continues to take over the entire section. So that's the energy that teams like this need. So, yeah, there should be, especially when you're talking about this section, that's $15 tickets. To go to a Cardinals game when it's nice out, $15. You can get $5 beers where BK is probably buying them for everybody.
That's what I'm saying. I met a new buddy up at the top of the Budweiser Terrace last week.
I tried to tell him.
Shirts on or shirts off then?
It was shirts on. This was not in the Budweiser Terrace. This was right below.
Well, yeah, but you could walk up
You
there
could walk
with
up.
your shirt
I told
off.
him he needed to buy. I told him he needed to buy people $12 beers instead of $5 beers.
Seriously, yeah.
But
Somebody said there are too many games, too long of games, too many breaks in the action. That's why it can't
those
last.
are all excuses, man.
I would disagree on that. I mean,
the length of the game is basically the same as a City game.
Yeah. And like, I brought this up when we would watch the World Baseball Classic, and I said at the time, if you watch those games, because they play over in Japan, they've got, maybe it's not a fan section, but they've got basically cheerleaders on top of the dugout doing stuff for the entirety of the game, banging drums. Why couldn't that last? I mean, that's the same thing in Japan. It's not as long a season.
See, pros
it's
banging
still
it
a
out.
decent amount. Why not
Tarps
go
off.
ahead and have that in a game like this at Major League Baseball? I think it'd be a great idea.
This can last as long as there's a group of people that want it to last, and that's the biggest thing. To keep the energy up, you got to be the one that starts it. It's just like when you go there and you start the wave, right? Somebody's got to be the guy that does it. So if you
don't do that.
Well, they were the guys that said they started the wave in the bleachers, and then they went over to tarps off. So it was wave first, then the tarps. I agree. The wave is lame. lame and terrible. But
I'd rather
anyway,
you take your shirt off.
all you got to do is get there and you start this. And now that the Cardinals have this youthful energy, people are going to continue to bring that, I hope.
From the 602, agree with BK, but I'll take it a step further. Give those tickets away for free in that section.
Well,
multiple years now of seeing multiple empty sections every night. I wouldn't do that, but can you make them $12? You know, like they've had 11 World Series championships. Let's do $11 tickets up in the supporter section. Something like that, right? Where you can make it a special event for people that are going up there. Or maybe it's like $20 tickets and you get $5 preloaded on there, and you can use that for your first beer up at the Crown Bar. So something along those lines where you can make it into a special event-like feel. They've got the Friday Night Live. They've got the Sunday Kids game. They've got a lot of different stuff going on at Busch Stadium. If you haven't been to a game this year, by the way, I would recommend doing so. It's a very different experience than it has been over the last couple of years. 22 is as much fun as I've ever had going to baseball games for a full season. This year, though, it's different than 22 was. 22 was all about the baseball on the field. This year, if you go to a baseball game, especially with your family or friends, you're trying to have a good time, it's a really good place to go.
Yeah, I'm going Sunday afternoon with the girls for the Cubs and Cardinals.
Shirt off?
Tarps off maybe for Dad, maybe not them.
Well, yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
tarps off will be for Dad.
Yeah. All right, good for you. Bring your sunscreen. That's an important factor here. No, you're
I'm
gonna-
Italian. I don't burn.
I will.
I tan.
I do. I burned a little bit yesterday on my run.
Somebody in our YouTube chat said, guys, tip for you. You should work out your shoulders. Can't go tarps off with pebble shoulders.
Yeah, that's probably about me.
You got pebble shoulders, man?
Yeah.
What are you
listen,
focusing
it is
too
what
much
it
on?
is. Not enough on anything right now. As you know, with the child, there's been a lack of
think that would help the
opportunities
shoulders
to go
like
over
that.
to the gym lately.
Yeah,
so.
please. I find
Just
time, baby.
Like,
You gotta do what you gotta
10
do.
curls.
Yeah, you just got to
Just
lift up.
Pilates,
You just got
just
to
a lot
lift
of
up.
Pilates.
Oh, yeah. Well, lay off the
So
Pilates
it's
and
more about
yoga.
Flexibility.
No.
And mobility.
I mean, that's
Take it
I
now.
mean, to put your hand up and wave it around, that's got to be
take it from somebody.
Yeah, look at if he didn't do Pilates, he
T-Bone,
couldn't do
take
that.
the tarps off, baby!
Come on, T-Bone! 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 T-Bone!
It's taking too long.
Oh, man, I thought he was going to do
I
it.
did too. I was like, damn, this is going to be great stuff.
We got some Oli chants over the weekend. Is the tide starting to turn on the Cardinals manager? We'll get into that next here on BK and Ferrario. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. It's not every day you get to hear Oli Marmol chants at the stadium.
Love it.
You don't see that a whole lot in Major League Baseball nowadays, where the manager's name is being chanted by the fans.
Think about where that guy has come from, to where people wanted him out of St. Louis 2 years ago. He was a young manager that didn't know what he was doing, and now he's got people chanting his name after games.
I'm still upset about him pulling Quintana after 5 against the Phillies.
I'm a little disappointed he didn't go tarps off.
I am too. I really wanted him to run out there in right field and take his shirt off.
I will say this
on Saturday.
Oli Marmol joining us tomorrow, possibly in studio here on BK and Ferrario. We'll see if maybe we can all go tarps off with Oli Marmol.
Did you tell him tarps are not mandatory here?
Tarps optional.
Yes, tarps are optional, and that optional means you have to take it off.
Oli will join us tomorrow here on the show.
I don't know if this is encouragement or not for Oli, but Oli takes his shirt off, I'll take my shirt off.
I don't know which one's less likely.
Yeah,
I'll just say that.
It's Oli. Oli's going to hear that one and be like, I don't care. I'm not taking mine off.
Just encourage him not to come in studio.
It is very clear that the sentiment regarding the manager is changing, Alex. Now, that doesn't mean everybody is suddenly going to buy into what he is as a manager. Some people probably don't like his tactics. Others don't like the way that he talks to the media. Some people maybe just view him as, hey, he's too young, he's never won anything. Like, that stuff's always going to be there, right? There's some people that will just never like this show because we're all young and we didn't all grow up here in the city of St. Louis with the 80s Cardinals. That's something we're just never going to be able to change. And so if that's you, I apologize. We're doing our best here on the radio, but that's just not, we can't change that. That's not our demographic. The same thing's true for Oli. He can't suddenly be a guy that played for the Cardinals in the 80s or in the early 2000s, or a guy that's 60 years old that's won 6 World Series. It's not who he is. What he can do, though, is try to give his team the best chance to win every day. He can try to resonate with the fan base in a way that builds some kind of almost like a relationship once again. It repairs the relationship that had been fractured over the last decade. And I think you're starting to see that. The team has taken on his identity. He, over the weekend, I don't think you could pay millions of dollars for the kind of publicity and PR that he was able to get. And he earned it by appreciating the fans in right field on Friday night, saying, I'll do whatever it takes to get those guys back here over the next couple of days. And then followed up on that by literally buying out the section and giving away 1,500 tickets over the weekend to Cardinals fans. You can't do that every day, but that's the kind of thing that, it resonates with fans. It speaks to you. It shows you, like, he's as invested in this as I am. He wants Busch Stadium to be back to what I remember it to be. Alex, do you think this is something that can continue, though? Because that's a moment. It's a moment in time. Is this something that has some more long-lasting nature to it?
I think so, but it's solely dictated on the team's success. And that's just how it goes with managers and coaches. If the team's not winning, the first person everybody points to is always the coach, right? As soon as they're struggling, it's, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Get him out of there and get somebody experienced. I think Oli went through the last few years of all of the criticism because the team was expected to compete for a World Series, and Oli didn't have that track record. People wanted Joe Madden. People wanted all of these guys that had won World Series at the major league level, and they said, well, we need an experienced manager that can help this team of veterans. And now I think people have gravitated towards Oli because this is a young team that had no expectations, and they're performing much like the identity that Oli wants these players to be. So we talked last week about, is Oli and can Oli be a core member of the Cardinals? And our answer was yes. But it does dictate off of how the team performs. Because if for some reason the shoe falls and the rest of this season is just underwhelming, I think a lot of people are going to feel a little bit differently about Oli and feel a little bit differently about the Cardinals. He did an incredible PR move this weekend to show Cardinals fans that what he wants is a crowded Busch Stadium, and he's going to do everything in his power to make sure that the team performs to that level. So, I think this guy can be the main piece of it. It's just you got to keep winning.
Yeah, I think that's the big key to it. I think he can definitely grow with this young team and enter into this next window of whatever it is for Cardinals winning baseball and become kind of like what TLR was as a figure, right? Where everybody loved TLR, and then that was the guy you kind of had to emulate as the next manager of. But he's already off to like the way TLR started, right? I mean, you look at what TLR did through his first 4 years. It was 88 wins, 73, 83, 75. People weren't happy with him. And then he wins 95 games in 2000, and he kind of takes off from there. I think that's kind of where we're at with Oli Marmol. He's done a lot of good PR moves. I thought his best PR move was at his opening press conference when he was hired. And he said, hey, it's not about making it to the playoffs. It's about winning championships in St. Louis. And he didn't get any credit for that comment as a PR move. Instead, it was, he's just a puppet of John Mozeliak. So I think he can grow into this and become that kind of figure again and can sustain as a figure for Cardinals baseball. But this can't be a yo-yoing back and forth between, yeah, we surprise on expectations, then when expectations get here, we don't live up to them.
We've had a lot of people text in something to the effect of what you just mentioned there, T-Bone, which is, this one comes from the 314 specifically. People hated Marmol because he was a Mo's guy. I think there's some truth to that.
Yeah, because he was hired for Mike Schilt, who was let go, and people loved Mike Schilt.
And he was seen as Mo's handpicked guy, right? He was the Mo puppet, all these different things. Whether you believe that or not doesn't much matter. It's set aside for a moment. I think that so much of what's happening this year, and I maybe underrated this, honestly, I think there was Mo fatigue, and it showed up in more ways than even I recognized. And I think around the team right now, you're feeling that. Now, I don't know how much to attribute what's happening in the stadium right now to Mo's departure, but I will say this, the Cardinals have changed a lot about how they are marketing the team, the game day atmosphere at Busch Stadium. Like, there's been a lot of changes, and I think a lot of the headwinds have been sending us in this direction for a while now. They've added different people in the business side of things for the team. I think they knew they needed to change some stuff there, but now they're actually implementing it. So whether that was directly related to Mo or it just happens to be at the same time, whatever the case, there's a lot that's changing in the Cardinals organization right now, and I would say like 100% of it is for the better. They just seem to finally be getting with the times. It felt like for a really long time there, up until like 2015, basically, the Cardinals were ahead of the rest of the league. And then slowly, and then all at once, the rest of the league not only caught up to the Cardinals, but then exceeded them in a significant way. And now the Cardinals are starting to catch back up to where the rest of the league is. It's going to take some time before the Cardinals are then able to pass up the rest of the league the way that the rest of the league did to them. But the experience at the stadium, the minor league infrastructure, the relationship that exists between the team and the fans is, I think they're hoping it becomes similar to what exists right now out in San Diego, where they've built something that clearly is bigger than just the baseball game that you're attending. It's almost like a party every time that you go to Petco Field out there. So I think, I don't know how much of this is related to Mo's departure, but it's not zero. And that's something that I've noticed in my attendance at Busch Stadium this year.
I just think people want something new, something fresh. And for the longest time, it's just been John Mozeliak not doing a whole lot in the offseason and telling people that the team is going to compete for a World Series. So it's just words being said and no actions being put behind it. Now, there have been times he made action, like the 22 deadline when they acquired some pitchers to strengthen that team. But I think for the last 3 or 4 years, it's just been, can we just get something else? And the moment Hein Bloom took over and the moment John Mozeliak walked out of the door, it was finally, we have somebody telling us what we see with our eyes rather than telling us what we don't see, that this team is going to start fresh. They're going to try and compete, but they're going to be young and they're going to sell off assets. He followed through with actions. And that's the part that I think really resonated for people. And now you've got a team outperforming their expectations. You've got a pipeline that is starting to be built towards the top of Major League Baseball. So there's finally some belief in what's taking place rather than just a lot of words being said and nothing coming to fruition with it.
It reminds me of something that happens in politics sometimes where a candidate will tell you that the economy is good. And you in your own life are like, I'm not feeling that, right? And so like you can then vote based upon that. But if you're not feeling the things that people in power are telling you, then that's your perspective, and there's nobody that can change your mind on that because that is your feeling, and your feelings are your own and nobody else's. And if enough people feel that way, well, then the votes are going to go a certain direction. I think a lot of people felt a certain way about the Cardinals over the last 5 years. They felt as though that's not a contender. You're not doing enough. That team's not good enough. And in relation to that, they spoke with their pocketbooks, right? And they spoke with their lack of attendance and their frustrations around the team, whether that means like what they're sending into us or all of these different things. And now you get to where they are today, and this is just my perspective. Again, I can't tell you how to feel. I think more people are feeling like that's the Cardinals. That's the kind of team that I can get behind. I believe in that group. And I think a lot of people understand, like, this team's probably not winning the World Series. The odds are this team probably won't be as good as some of the teams that we've seen recently for the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm not sure how many people really care, though, because it's just a matter of, like, they seem to be on the right track. Mm-hmm. And that's what people wanted to see. Show us the actions that Alex was referencing there. Make me feel a certain kind of way when I'm watching these games or when I'm going to these games. And then, we'll build it together. We'll see what this looks like as it gets further along in the builds that they're trying to do.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you there because it is hey, we are going, I think it's setting expectations, right? It's showing your actions and then making sure that expectations are set. I mean, you hear Heim talk. I mean, he just recently talked when they were in Sacramento. He's not talking like, hey, yeah, we're going to go out and we're going to buy at the deadline. It's always, hey, we're still working on that long-term future, right? And the message has been clear from day one. How often over the last 3 years when they started to really go sideways and they were stale, where it was just mixed messaging, where it was, hey, yeah, we're kind of retooling on the fly, and then it was ownership, hey, yeah, well, we kind of want to win in the first month because if we win in the first month of this year runway, we sell tickets. It was, okay, so is it a year of runway or is it a year of winning? And it was never a clear picture from them. So I think that's the biggest part for it is it's fresh and it's being sold the right way. It's being sold of what it is. And it makes me wonder, how do you think people would have felt if Mo would have made the moves this offseason?
Man, not good.
Because typically what you see, and this is kind of like a quote-unquote ownership change, I would say, where you've got new Pobo coming in. The old Pobo just takes the garbage out with them, so the new Pobo can start fresh. But they did it the opposite way, and I don't know if we'd be talking the same way. Maybe we would because they're winning. But what would the direction been if instead of Heim trading Donovan and Heim trading Wilson Contreras and Heim trading Sonny Gray, that was a John Mozeliak?
I think Donnie's the big one to me. Being able to get that kind of a return and it being Heim Bloom's return, and for him to do it as a three-way trade, I think also spoke to this where it's like, hey, he got creative. Mm-hmm. He did the thing that Mo would have been like, yeah, we can't find the team that's willing to give us the assets. Now, whether this is true or not doesn't really matter. The fact that he was willing and able to get that across the finish line in the offseason, I think also spoke to Cardinals fans about his clear direction, and the return being his gave them faith that he's going to get the right guys in our organization. Mo would have screwed it up somehow, even if that's completely unfair.
That's the biggest thing for me. I don't think anybody would have trusted the prospects you were getting in return. People would have looked at the return and said, this guy doesn't know how to identify talent. This is who you got. You would have been asking for more, because the Seattle one, for example, like I was hoping you'd get two guys and you only got the one with Senja. Ty Pete, of course, was a part of it, but the main guy. And with Heim doing it, it's like, okay, he's got to see something. So it's the blind faith that you have in Heim Bloom versus the examples that John Mozeliak had throughout his time with all of these prospects that didn't develop.
And that'll change.
Yeah.
Yep.
Eventually he'll miss on some of these guys. Ty Pete will fizzle out in the minor league system. Hunter Dobbins maybe never becomes more than a number 5 starter at the major league level. Maybe Richard Fitz never even gets to the major league level after some of these injuries that he's going through. Like, he's going to miss more often than he hits, because that's the nature of being a president of baseball operations. It's just going to happen over time. But the direction, the belief, that stuff plays for right now at a minimum, and the Cardinals needed that desperately. They needed something to sell faith, belief, and a fresh perspective with this team, and you've got all of that right now coming off of this weekend, winning 2 out of 3 against the Kansas City Royals in what was an unbelievable atmosphere at Busch Stadium. You really couldn't ask for anything more right now. Cardinals off today, back in action tomorrow. We'll be joined, hopefully in studio, but definitely on the show by Oli Marmol today here on BK and Ferrario. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll get into questions and answers. 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line to get your questions in. But next, Let's talk a little bit about the on-field product, because over the weekend, it was the rotation that showed out really as much as anything else. Are they starting to figure this thing out? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here. The Sports Center update brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. Cardinals fell to the Royals yesterday 2-0, but they take 2 of 3 from Kansas City. They are off today. They'll start a 3-game set with the Pittsburgh Pirates tomorrow night. 6:45 will be first pitch. Matthew Liberts will be on the mound for St. Louis. Mitch Keller will get the start for Pittsburgh. And tonight here on 101 ESPN, the NBA Western Conference Finals start, as well as Game 1 between the Thunder and Spurs with pregame coverage starting at 7, tip-off at 7:30. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. You'll be saying, I love my windows.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. So earlier today, Alex, I was reading over on ESPN.com. They had a piece, Real or Not, debating the hot starts for unexpected teams. They had the Tampa Bay Rays. They said that's real. They had the Pittsburgh Pirates, also real. And how about this? The Chicago White Sox at 24-22 with a -7 run differential.
Don't tell me
the
real.
Verdict, real.
Okay, well, I can close this article and not read anymore.
The St. Louis Cardinals, who are 27-19, a +3 in their run differential. Preseason power rankings had them at number 26 in Major League Baseball. Now I would say they're at a minimum closer to the middle of the pack. Verdict, not real.
Okay.
Here's what they wrote. Despite the positives, it's hard to reconcile a team with the lowest strikeout rate as a playoff contender. Here are the playoff teams from the past 4 seasons who ranked in the bottom 10 in pitcher strikeout rate. Last year, it was the Cubs. They ranked 21st. In 2024, nobody did it. In 2023, ironically enough, it was the Rangers at 21st and the Diamondbacks at 22nd. Worked out pretty well for both teams, I would say. And then in 2022, it was your St. Louis Cardinals who ranked 28th. They continue. That's 4 out of 40, although only the 2022 Cardinals were near the bottom of the league. That team also benefited from 2 100-loss teams in the division. Meanwhile, this year, the NL Central looks like the best division in the majors. The Rays, the Cardinals, both their hot starts are already in the books. They've beaten the Dodgers and Rays in a series. They split a 2-game set against the Brewers, and they just swept the Pirates in a 4-game series as well. So it's not as though they're not performing well against quality opponents. They look better than their 70-win forecast, but the 10-3 record in 1-run games and 6-1 record in extra innings is something that will be difficult to sustain. So in other words, doesn't believe in the pitching, thinks they're getting fortunate in these 1-run games right now.
I agree with the fortunate in 1-run games. Like, sometimes luck comes into it, but I mean, you have to give them credit. They're winning those games, and even if it goes stale, do they find a way to win in other ways? The part that I don't get is, like, I understand the pitching is not good, but the Tampa Bay Rays are 3rd in strikeouts, 3rd lowest in strikeouts as a team in Major League Baseball. The White Sox are 8th fewest in Major League Baseball, and their guy, Davis Martin, who I didn't know a whole lot about, is got a 1.6 ERA right now through 56 innings. So why are those teams believable, but yet the Cardinals, because of their lack of strikeouts from their pitching staff, aren't? That's the part that I don't understand.
I got to tell you, that's a compelling argument. I mean, it's hard.
I feel like there's sarcasm involved with this.
No, 100% serious. Totally.
Yeah.
Also,
the ace right now for the White Sox was a 14th round draft pick for the White Sox.
And he might be good.
Maybe, but you're going to tell me that it's not sustainable for Michael McGreevy and for Dustin May, and let's throw Matthew Liberatore in there. I don't think it's sustainable for that. That's not going to be sustainable, but yet Davis Martin is going to be sustainable as an ace.
Exactly. I think that's a fair point. And you look at it, I talked about this yesterday. I went on the a podcast with the Viva Albertos guys. Jake Wood mentioned these.
Flex T-Bone, huh? This podcast guy over here.
Always over there flexing about something.
With his tarp on, by the way.
Yeah.
It did have the tarp on.
Flex, take it off.
I was talking about this with them, and they brought up some numbers on the Cardinals pitching staff and specifically the starters since April 15th. You're talking about more than a month now of sustained success from this rotation. You guys know where they rank? Starting pitching ERA since April 15th.
I think it's top
I was
five.
going to say
if
it's
I'm not
got to be
mistaken.
top 5, so I'd say 4th or 5th.
6th in Major League Baseball with a 3.3 ERA over that stretch. I mean, I don't think they're going to be 6th over the course of the entire season, but even the strikeout rate over this stretch has been fine. It's 21st. It's not great, but it's in line with Toronto and San Diego and Arizona and Tampa Bay, as Alex just mentioned there. They're in line with, like, the Cubs are at a 21% strikeout rate. The Cardinals are at a 20% strikeout rate. I don't think anybody's sitting here saying, yeah, the Cubs can't be a contender this season. So if 1% in your strikeout rate over the course of a month is the difference between winning and losing and getting to the playoffs or not, man, I don't know. That's like a couple of batters here or there. That's not a significant difference between the two. You want to talk about Milwaukee at 28% versus the Cardinals at 20%? All right, we can have that talk. That's real. That's a difference in what they're doing right now. But are you guys buying into what we're seeing? Because I think what David Schoenfeld of ESPN.com would say is, yeah, that's not real. They're not going to be able to sustain that. But the numbers are hard to argue.
So I'm buying into Michael McGreevy. I'm buying into Dustin May. And I'm starting to buy in a little bit more into Andre Palante, which is a dangerous thing because he's such a hit-to-contact pitcher. But I think he's looked good in his last 3 starts. And I'm buying into the back end of your bullpen with Riley O'Brien and JoJo Romero and George Soriano. It's the other 2 areas with Matthew Liberatore and Kyle Leahy that I'm just skeptical of, and it's the rest of your bullpen I'm skeptical of. But I mean, your defense has been so good this season, and your offense has made up for errors from your pitching staff that, yeah, I will say that I'm going to believe in the Cardinals. It's going to be a tough sled the rest of the way. It's going to have to be very minimal mistakes if you want to keep this going all season long, because I believe you're going to be in a lot of one-run games this season, and how strong are you mentally to handle those? But, I mean, I look at some of these guys, and I don't know why I shouldn't believe in a Michael McGreevy, because, like, he's doing it, and it's consistent, and it's against really good offenses from the other side.
I think I believe in Michael McGreevy as a solid starter. Do I believe in him as a 2.1 ERA starter as he's been so far this year? No. But that's okay. He doesn't have to be that. I also think Dustin May is better than his 4.8 ERA that shows on the back of his baseball card right now, because that's basically represented by his first 2 starts, and he's been a different pitcher ever since then. I know he's not going to get huge strikeout numbers, but, man, the at-bats against him look very uncomfortable. And that's a guy that I think could be a mid-3s, low-4s kind of ERA. Don't look now. Andre Palante's been pretty good, guys. Like, he's not a number 1, not a number 2, not a number 3 on a contender. Can he be a 4 or a 5, though? Sure. And Kyle Leahy, hey, I will put my hand up. I didn't see this coming from him. Right. I did not think he had this in him. I was arguing, hey, maybe he's somebody that you push back into the bullpen and you go with Dobbins as that 5th starter. Hot damn. Yeah. Kyle Leahy's been pretty darn good so far in the month of May with a 1.1 ERA in 3 starts so far this month. He's given up exactly 2 earned runs, Alex, in 3 starts so far this month against Milwaukee, San Diego, and Kansas City. Yeah. Kind of hard to argue against that, too.
Yeah. I mean, 2 of the 3 are really good teams and offenses that you're going up. But, well, Milwaukee's offense is good, not really good. But, I mean, those are good offenses to go up against. So the rotation is starting to really settle into where it's like, yeah, I can see this rotation giving them competitive 5 or 6 innings to keep it close. Your offense can do the unthinkable, and even if they're down, find a way to come back into the game. It's the bullpen that you're worried about. But honestly, with Riley O'Brien and JoJo Romero and George Soriano and my boy Michael McGreevy, which, by the way, got through that one on Friday, looking good. What'd I say?
Michael McGreevy.
Gordon Graceffo is what I meant. That bullpen is the part that probably fears the most, but you can adjust that with one move at the deadline.
Yeah, I'm still somewhat skeptical of it, just because I don't know that they're going to be able to sustain this. Now, I don't think they're going to be awful, but I don't know what this will look like if it ends up being like a bottom 10 rotation, because I'm never going to bet on a team that relies on the offense to overcome the pitching. It's too hard, right? I mean, we can talk about it, but
just to follow up on that real quick, because I'm curious. Are you saying as a playoff contender, or are you saying you're not going to believe in that as a World Series contender?
I think it's both. I think now that you're seeing the Phillies start to emerge, it makes me wonder, okay, that's one of those spots that feels kind of like a lock-in. And then I look at like the Cubs, for example, and you bring up a good point on the Cubs. Their rotation's not doing it right now. They're also not healthy right now. Now, they may not get healthy all year. I mean, it's definitely a caveat when it comes to pitching. I just am a little skeptical on it all because it feels a lot like it did last year, which is they're not missing bats. I kind of fell for it then. I said, hey, they're playing really good defense that can make up for all of this. Now, they didn't have the offense last year, but that's my concern is you're going to start to see this regress. And the other thing that's important here, you mentioned the bullpen. I do like the back end of the bullpen. You're only kind of seeing those guys right now because these pitchers are getting deep into these games. Their second in quality starts in the month of May. Once you start to see that dip back with a little bit of them maybe not being able to work out as much danger, now you start to see the middle of this bullpen a little bit more, which is still not that great. And that's when I think you start to see this start to kind of snowball on them. Again, I don't think they're going to be awful, but I am not betting on this is sustainable, and this is kind of what's driving them right now.
And that's okay. Not everybody has to believe in this. I mean, it is like they've got a +3 in the run differential. They are really good in one-run games. They are getting fortunate in some of these extra inning games. They're sequencing quite well. Like, there are some things that would suggest this is an outlier start to the season. I remember a few years ago, we talked to Skip Schumacher after his team was amazing in one-run games. This was right around like the trade deadline, if I remember correctly. And he's like, yeah, you show me a team that's good in one-run games, I'll show you a team that's got a great bullpen. I don't know if the Cardinals have that. So maybe this is flimsy. I think that's a fair perspective on this. I do view it as a little bit more rosy through my eyes. Maybe I'm just getting swept up in the vibes of it all.
You did have your shirt off.
I agree with Dr. Xander that said T-Bone with a tarps on take.
I think I am getting a little swept up in
That's
it.
well done, Dr. Xander.
The next few weeks will be telling. Now, I feel like we've said this about every stretch of games, and in every stretch, they've basically proven that they're legit.
Yeah, but this is the big one.
They, over the next 12, have 3 against Pittsburgh, 3 against Cincy, 3 against Milwaukee, and 3 against Chicago.
And then
you're going to see each one of them, each one of your divisional foes, right up until the end of this month.
And then even after that, you've got the Atlanta Braves. And that's going to be a test against a really good team in the National League. Don't they have the Braves at the beginning of June?
No.
I swear they had or is that the end of June?
They've got Texas.
We've got Atlanta in July.
Oh, maybe that's what I meant.
They've got Atlanta twice in about a 2-week stretch.
That was the
starting
July
in
stretch.
late June.
Hey, look,
early
both
July,
start with
right before.
JU. Both are very similar to each other.
They do play Atlanta right before the All-Star break. So maybe that's what you were thinking of,
That's what I was thinking of. That's how you go buyers at the trade deadline. Look, I thought they were playing them in June. It's an honest mistake.
Yeah.
They happen. All
They
of
do
us
play
make-
them technically in June 30th.
All
they
of
have
us.
a game.
See, it was at
I
the
can't
end
wait.
or
It's so
beginning of
close.
June. I knew it was one of the
Hey
two.
man, I'm excited to see Ronald Acuna Jr.
Yeah,
and
we can
all
start
those guys.
the countdown now if you
that
want.
also will not be taking place in June because they will be in Atlanta for that series. But
Road
I
trip.
never said they were here. I just said they were playing them in June.
in mid-July, I can't wait to see them.
Yeah. No,
a lot of
the
fun.
end of June is when I said. End of June is when I said. And it's still going to be the best team in the National League. So stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
Who will be?
Atlanta.
You think so?
Probably.
Steve and I have the same follow-up.
I actually probably kind of agree, but I mean, they're
it's them
another
and the
team. Like, I don't
Dodgers.
know what to make of their pitching either. They're dealing.
Will they be in first place in their own division by the time that we get to the All-Star break?
I'll say yes,
Yeah,
but it's gonna be
absolutely. I'll put money down on that one.
Phillies are coming, boys.
Nah,
That's the other part. I mean,
they'll
you
cool
mentioned the
off.
Cardinals have won, what is it, like 13 of 18? And it feels like they're getting like no cushion out of it. They haven't even caught the Cubs. Everybody in the division's right there with them. Oh, and by the way, the Phillies are winning again. Typically, you go on one of these runs early in the year, and it's like, okay, all right, we at least gave ourselves 6 games of cushion. And then you look at the standings, you go, oh, yeah, no, that hasn't happened for the Cardinals.
You're going to talk about a team that I do not believe in their rotation. These Braves.
Oh, your point down. I was like, I got nothing.
Bryce Elder? You want me to blind that? Okay.
He's their Michael McGreevy.
Yeah, exactly. So if I'm going to believe that Michael McGreevy is going to experience some regression, I will have to say the same thing about Bryce Elder. Now,
You'll find out at the beginning of June.
Chris Sale, yeah, I'll go ahead and buy into that. Grant Holmes? Okay. Martin Perez?
Oh,
I've
By the
seen
way,
this.
By the way, everybody is saying the same thing about the Cardinals right now. Andre Palante?
yeah.
Kyle Leahy?
Exactly. So if I'm going to say it about the Cardinals, I also have to say that about the Braves. You know? Now, maybe you believe in their offense a little bit more than you believe in the Cardinals, but I think that's basically saying you believe in, like, Ronald Acuna Jr. more than you do in Jordan Walker or Drake Baldwin more than Jordan Walker, you know?
The first one I agreed with. I believe in Ronald Acuna Jr. more than Jordan Walker.
The thing that's helping carry the Braves is the fact that they have name recognition of guys that have done it.
Because like Austin Riley, people would probably say, yeah, that guy's really good. Yeah, he is. I mean, he's not been good this year. He's basically been Mason Wynn offensively so far this season. Now, Matt Olson, that guy's special.
Yeah, you don't have
you don't have that.
You could make the argument offensively. You've got maybe Acuna / Baldwin with Walker and Herrera.
Sure.
I can't argue that Burley's Olson. I like Burley. He's not Matt Olson. I mean, that guy's special. Same with Harris. You don't have a Michael Harris. He's bounced back. I don't know if I believe in him, but when he's right, like he's what you wanted Gorman to be.
What's Albies doing?
He's been fine.
Hasn't been good.
Yeah. He's been solid. Yeah. He's been good, but nothing special.
He's probably your Burley.
Wetherholt's probably that.
Probably similar to Wetherholt.
Yeah, that's actually a good one.
Matt Olson, that trade, by the way, with the Athletics, one of the best win-win trades of the last decade. Matt Olson goes to the Braves. Shea Langoliers is like the headliner that goes back over to the Athletics. And Langoliers, as we saw last week, is a stud. That guy is awesome as a catcher. Very rarely do you see two teams end up with special star-level talents in a trade. That's exactly what took place. Now, I would assume Atlanta would probably prefer to have William Contreras still on their roster instead of trading for Sean Murphy, who has been god-awful.
That was good for the first year.
Yeah, he's been so bad this season and last. All right, alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, questions and answers is next. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and get them in right now on the Air Comfort Service text line. From the 314, I've got a question for BK. What was your favorite interview from the last week? Got to be the Tarps Off guy on Friday, right?
How'd you find them? You just go down to the section and take your shirt off and figure guys would find you?
Who took his shirt off first.
And
looking for the guy.
100 people raised their hand.
So Friday night, I go to the game with my son, wife, and mother-in-law. We're up in the Budweiser Terrace. I'll mention it one more time.
Shout out.
And Carol was the first one that noticed it. The guys over to our left, because if you're not familiar with the way that this was structured, like it was the far right field, like the 200 level. That's where all of these guys were. And we're right above that in the Budweiser Terrace. And they were off to our lefts just a little bit. So she looks over and she's like, Brandon, do you see this? And at first it was, probably when we first looked over, maybe like 50 guys. And then it continues to fill up more and more. And it starts to get loud coming from that direction. And by the time you get to the ninth inning and extras, it's like a full-blown party down there. Like, these guys are super into it. The Cowboy Cardinal guy is down there. He's got his shirt off.
Hell yeah.
It was wild. And then, like, they walk it off, and you see Fredbird. He's running around. He's taking the shirt off, running through. It's like, all right, this is really cool. So as we're walking out of the stadium, I see a few guys that still had their shirts off that were down in, like, right behind home plate, that concourse area, right? So I look over at Kara, and I'm like, listen, I know this is going to be super annoying for you, probably a little uncomfortable. I think I need to go talk to these guys, though. Like, this is the biggest story of the Cardinals weekend, and if I'm here and I don't talk to these guys, I'll never live it down. So I went over there just thinking, these are probably guys that joined in. I had no idea who they were. So I introduced myself, talked to them for a minute, and they tell me, hey, we're from the Stephen F. Austin baseball team. We're the baseball club. We're in town. We just wanted to have a good time. So we started this up, took our shirts off, blah, blah, blah. It's like, guys, we got to talk. Like, do you mind if we do a quick interview? And they, went crazy. The first thing they asked, you want us to put our shirts on? I said, please do not do that.
Defeats the purpose, guys.
So, it was great. They were super cool guys. I talked to them a little bit more over the weekend. They were just super grateful for everything. They were having the time of their life. So to answer the question, yeah, I loved that interview because it's the kind of thing you can't script this. The only way this happens is if it's 100% organic. It all came together. They ended up going into the clubhouse on Saturday. Mm-hmm. Oli Marmol is thanking them for the vibe that they were able to create for the team. And it's just, they'll never forget this. Yeah. So, yeah, that was my favorite weekend, or favorite interview of the weekend.
I don't blame you. And congrats to you for getting that, because when I saw the video, I'm like, damn, man, how'd you find those guys?
That was my thought.
Totally an accident.
Wrong person for
I was going to say, I would have gotten you found somebody from the team, but to find the two guys that initially started it, that's the best part about it. Yeah. It's a great job by you.
I was just planning to go down there and talk to somebody that joined in, just to find out, how did this all come together? Was this something that had been planned, or what happened here? Mm-hmm. So I could talk about it on the air for us on Monday if it didn't gain any more steam over the weekend. Obviously, it very much did, but when I found out that they were
tarps
the ones,
off?
No, he did not.
Come on, Luca.
Awesome.
Come on, Luca.
Awesome. I'm disappointed your shirt was on for the interview.
Yeah, seriously. You should have went tarps off with them.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line.
Instead, he had to wear his Bobby Witt Jr. shirt.
And answers from the 314. Do you guys think it's more likely that the Blues trade a first-round pick for a player or to move up?
Probably to move up. I just don't know what players are going to be available that you realistically can trade for. I think there's going to be some out there, but I don't know if it's just going to be a pick. It might be multiple picks if you're going to do that.
I would say player, just because I'm skeptical we're seeing a bunch of movement at the top of the draft. I mean, every year we talk about this, and every year no picks get traded, at least to move up in the draft. So I would say player.
That's kind of where I'm at as well. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. From the 573, for the people that work on shows like The Fast Lane or BK and Ferrario, does the radio station provide you guys with subscriptions to watch all of the games that you need to? Or do you pay for all of those yourself? It's been bothering me for quite a while, and I don't know which makes more sense. Yeah, we pay for that. Yeah.
We're going to let this guy's going to be able to sleep now. We've answered that question. Yeah, we pay for that.
Yeah, that comes out of our money.
I pay for that, pay for the Post-Dispatch, pay for Baseball Reference, The Athletic, all that stuff. Yeah, that's all us. Now, there are tax write-offs, all of that different stuff, but yeah, it's paid for. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. From the 314, how is every team good before we play them? Then we play them, and suddenly they aren't considered to be good anymore.
Wow, I mean, I don't know if the Royals were good before the Cardinals played them.
Yeah,
we kind of said going into this.
They weren't.
They lost, 6 in a row, 7 in a row before their win yesterday?
I don't. We saw them play against good teams when they played against them. The Padres, the Athletics, and they won those games. The Royals were not one of those teams.
To be fair, there's not a lot of great teams across baseball.
The Dodgers were struggling at the time. Yeah. Remember what Katie told us, the B team.
Exactly. You caught them at the right time. And that's the thing for the Cardinals. They seem to be catching everybody kind of at the right time so far this year.
Which sometimes means your team is good.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a shot at the Cardinals. What they always say is you got to take care of business, right? I mean,
no doubt.
This could have been the series where the Royals turned around, and instead you kept them down. So,
alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. It is 12:02. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Coming up next, how does this year compare to the experience of watching the Cardinals in 2022? We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN. You guys saw me at the beginning of the show. I can use all the help that I can get to unlock my inner champion, and you can do the same thing over at Victory Men's Health. Check them out today. They have a ton of great offerings at victorymenshealth.com, whether it's low testosterone symptoms that you've been feeling, you don't feel like your old self, you're not getting the same amount out of your workouts as you once did. Well, they can help you out with that at victorymenshealth.com. It's an incredibly easy process to get started. You go over to their website, click on Get Started, put in your name, email, phone number, tell them BK with 101 ESPN sent you, and then they'll get you started with that first appointment. That first appointment is going to include a consultation with a licensed medical provider. They'll do some lab work for you, find out where all your different levels are at, and then you'll come back for a personalized plan. They're going to help you unlock your inner champion. They did it for me. They can do it for you at Victory Men's Health. Check them out today online at victorymenshealth.com. That's victorymenshealth.com. Book that first appointment today at victorymenshealth.com.
I think I can confidently say this is probably the best team that I've been a part of since I've been in the big leagues. So it's also probably the most fun I've ever had playing in the big leagues, and to do it with not just a good group of guys, but a good group of guys that I've played with for a long time now, through the minors, and now getting to do it at the big league level. It's very, very special, and I enjoy being a fan on the days that I'm not pitching.
That was Matthew Liberatore on Friday, audio courtesy of KMOV, talking about how much fun he's having playing for this team in 2026. Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, the last time the Cardinals made the playoffs was 2022. Now, that is the year that I reference a lot when it comes to the last time the Cardinals really felt like they were something special here in St. Louis. That season, you had Paul Goldschmidt winning the MVP. Nolan Arenado finished third in the MVP voting. And for at least half of the season, Albert Pujols was an MVP candidate himself. You also had a top 3 rookie of the year in Brendan Donovan. They ended up going to the postseason. It appeared that they were well on their way to winning Game 1 against the Phillies. And we all know what happened from there. But that season was a hell of a lot of fun. 2021, that 17-game winning streak to get into the playoffs, hell of a lot of fun. Hasn't felt like that ever since. Matthew Liberatore was on that 2022 team. Now, he wasn't a consistent starter on that team, but he did make some starts for them. Alex, how would you compare this team to 2022?
It doesn't compare. 2022's team was better, more exciting, and frankly, I had more belief in that team. You had 2 top 3 MVPs, one winning it. You had Miles Michaelis pitching probably the best of his career. Your rotation was 5 deep with Montgomery and Quintana.
Wasn't at this point.
No, but the trade deadline continued to instill confidence because you did acquire those guys. So that season in general, you felt more confident in because they would go out there and upgrade it. Ryan Helsley was really good that season for you, and in your offense, it was believable. It doesn't compare at all. But I do understand what Matthew Liberatore is saying in the sense of, for him, this team is more fun because there were a lot of expectations and a lot of veteran players on that team that you couldn't take a step out of line. And I'm not saying that like I know the locker room. I'm just assuming when you got Arenado and you got Goldschmidt and you got Pujols and you got Yachty and you've got a team that's got the expectations of winning, you can't bring that youthful energy and fun environment into it because it's strictly business. This feels a little bit different. So I can understand that premise from Matthew Liberatore, but the teams don't stack up.
I agree they don't stack up. I think it's like comparing oranges to apples. And the reason I say that is because what makes this team so fun is, one, there was a lack of expectations, but also they actually carry swagger with them. Like, this is 2022, that team, really what carried them was winning on top of the fact that Pujols hit 700 home runs. I know we mentioned Goldie and Arenado finishing the MVP race. I feel like when we talk about 22, we mostly talk about Pujols. Goldie winning the MVP kind of gets overshadowed by 700 home runs. And the fact that it was done by like a 42-year-old who got on a second half surge, as BK had made reference to. That team was definitely better, and that was definitely a great experience to watch that team. But they didn't have any swagger to them. They were just kind of, hey, I'm Paul Goldschmidt. I do my thing. I go out there and I hit bombs and I win the MVP. This team just feels different, and I don't know if that's because it's the lack of expectation or it's because it's also they are younger and they were able to kind of pull in this new audience, as we were just talking about in the open with the Tarps Off crowd. It feels weird to kind of compare the two, but I find it interesting because I understand why Libby would say it's the most fun he's been on because of what you said, because he's kind of the guy in the locker room now, but they're completely different from that 2022 squad.
They are. The fun part of it, there's no contest. And this team is more fun than that team was. They're very different teams. You guys are right. But if we're going to compare them, I don't think the rotations are all that dissimilar, guys.
Not by this point, no. I mean, actually, this team is better this year than 2022 at this point by a game.
It was depth. Like, the depth of the rotation, I think, is better this year than it was in 2022. Mm-hmm. Now, that's saying something because this is not exactly a deep rotation. It's literally 6 guys and then a whole lot of question marks. But the depth of this rotation is better than that one was. The bullpen is honestly kind of similar to that one was. And that you have a stud closer in Ryan Helsley. You've got a nice setup guy. They had Giovanni Gallegos. And then at that point, it was basically just Andre Palante, because if you remember, that was the year that we all kind of wanted Jordan Hicks shot into the sun and just go away, please never come back. They eventually turned him around, but at that point in time, he was not performing well.
He was starting, right? Because that's 23 when he falls apart.
Yeah.
He was starting early in the season. And then they move him out because
Palante was able to come into the rotation.
But in the second half, that's when he figured it out. Remember, like he was not performing well as a starter. And then if I remember correctly, that was the year that he figured it out in the bullpen.
Oh, see, I thought 23 was that year, like T-Bone said, because
bad.
We
22, I think he was good when he moved to the bullpen right away.
Yeah, 23, I thought we were talking about you weren't going to get anything for him.
I think it was Hicks, Cabrera, Gallegos, and Helsley was the big four in the pen.
22, actually, he just flat out wasn't good. 4.8 ERA in July, 5.3 ERA in August, and then was a little bit better by the time that they got to September. But yeah, he's just flat out was not good.
23 was
in 2022. You're right. 23 was when he figured it out as a pitcher. So yeah, their bullpen just, it had like three dudes. If you were going to them, you trusted it. If you were going to anybody else, you didn't. Sound familiar? That's basically what it is for 2026. Now the difference is in the offense, where they had Goldie, they had Arenado. Pujols was unbelievable in the second half of the season, but at this point in time, he was a whole lot of nothing. He talked about afterwards how he considered retiring at the, what was that, in like May, because he just couldn't figure it out. And then Donnie was awesome that season as well. So you had 4, maybe 5 bats that you really trusted. Man, I could see that being similar again this year, where it's Jordan Walker, Alec Burleson, Ivan Herrera, J.J. Wetherholt, and eventually you're hoping one other player gets added to that mix, whether that's Nootbaar or Gorman or Wynn or whomever, but you kind of want to add one more bat. Is it crazy to believe that this could be a similar team at the end of the year where they win 93 games, play in that wild card series, and you hope for something more than what that 2022 team was? Is that crazy?
I don't think it's crazy. I just don't know if your offense is going to be able to keep that going, but I do agree with you having like numbers compared to just having the top 2 guys in Albert Pujols. I think the real definitive answer to that is going to be, what do you do at the deadline? Because if you go out there and you add, well, then yeah, it's not crazy to say that you could win 90 plus games and get into one of those wild card spots. I just don't know what their appetite is going to be to go out there and add like they did with Jordan Montgomery and Jose Quintana. But yeah, if you do, I don't think it's crazy to say that.
I'm a little more skeptical on it. I just because I don't know that you're getting 2 bats that are going to be Goldie and Arenado. I can believe in one. I think Walker can definitely be one of those bats for you. I don't know if you're going to see another guy be in the top 5 of the MVP race, like a Herrera or a Burley. They could maybe end up getting hot like Albert did in the second half, where maybe not that big of a tear, but they just get hot and help you. And then it comes down to, are you going to add reinforcements at the deadline, which is a huge if for this team, especially at this time in their life cycle. If they don't do that and you don't get a bat that can play like Arenado, then yeah, there's just no way they're going to be able to do the same thing.
You don't think Ivan Herrera could be similar to Nolan Arenado offensively?
I don't think so. I like Herrera's bat, but I don't know if he's going to... I mean, Arenado was a 30 home run guy, and I don't know that Herrera's going to end up being that. I think he's going to be like 30% above the average, which is a good bat. But you need that second guy. You need that guy like Arenado that's in the MVP race like they had in 22.
I think if that team felt like they had 3 guys that you trusted and then Brendan Donovan, because there were a couple of others that just weren't performing. This one, like if you're going to tell me that you've got 4 players that may not be playing to MVP level other than Jordan Walker, but if I have 3 other guys that are playing to all-star level, I think that kind of compares and evens itself out versus having 2 guys at MVP and Albert Pujols with a second half stretch.
Yeah, I think that the offense is not all that far away. I think the pitching is pretty similar. If there is a team that could resemble what you are in 2026, it is probably 2022 in recent Cardinals memory. Now, they're going about it in very different ways. Like, that was a veteran-laden team. This is very young. I understand all of that. But the other thing that 2022 included was the vibes. Right? It felt like it was almost scripted. Like, there's no other way that this could end for Yadi and Waino and Albert in a Cardinals uniform. Now, ultimately, it didn't end for Waino because he kept going. But for those other 2 guys in particular, there's no other way that it could end than by them going on this unbelievable tear, especially for Pujols in the second half of that season. And that is where I wanted to get to this question that was asked of Oli Marmol after the game on Friday.
You're 1/4 of the way into this thing. Do you get a sense that you got something special brewing here? Like it's contagious, that it's kind of leading from one game to the next?
I know we have a group that's really tough, that they're going to play hard, they're going to play the game the right way, and they're going to be hungry to continue to improve, and they're going to have a hell of a lot of fun while we do it. So that's what I know.
I think that was a really smart way to answer that question.
I do too.
It doesn't put unreasonable expectations upon this team. It goes back to, and I think this is part of why they're having so much success, it's all about the process for them. We're going to play the game a certain way. We'll do that every night, and we'll see where that ends up getting us.
Yeah.
But they are all about, we are playing our style. We do not care who we play. You put them on the other side, and we will try to beat them. And if we don't, then we'll go shake their hands, and we'll live to fight another day. But for this team, it does seem to be a lot about what's our process, how are we doing things, are we playing the right way? And I would say you can count on one hand so far this year the number of times you left the game saying they let the other team take that one. Like, they gave it to the opposition as opposed to the opposition just doing more than what they were able to.
I think it's so important that he didn't use the word special. I think it's so important that he did not say, you know, this team could be special, because that's what people hold you to. They hear that and say, well, if it's a special team, then you should win the NL Central and you should go deep into the playoffs. He just said the identity of this team is in stone, and this is how we'll play. That's the way you steer the expectations of the team, by not saying buzzwords like special.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what keeps the expectations away, is, like you said, avoiding that one word, because the moment it comes out, that genie's out of the bottle and it's not going back in.
It's like when they said that Jordan Walker is the best guy in their
Yep,
system
100%.
since Albert Pujols.
100%. Same with when it was Carlson. You got to prime for my cold dead hands. The moment that genie comes out of the bottle, you can't bring it back in.
Yeah.
Now, maybe that day is going to come at some point for the Cardinals. Like, I mean, if they continue to play like this in May, and let's say they sweep the Cubs, for example, when they come to town in 2 weeks, when that happens, maybe it comes out naturally from the fan base's expectations suddenly start to come. But right now, it's best from the organization not to be putting that pressure on this club right now.
No doubt. I thought it was a really smart way to go about it. I was listening to that in my car after I had interviewed the Stephen F. Austin guys out at the stadium on Friday night. We were on our way home, and they were playing that, and I was
Tarps are off in the car.
That is a smart way to go about that. And then Chaim Bloom was on with the guys, the KMOX guys, on Friday night after the game as well. So it was fun to listen to all of that. This team has done a really good job with their PR this year. It is something that we've been really critical about the Cardinals on over the last, 5 years. But so far this season, they've been great with it.
Just like their team can't make mistakes on the field if you want to win, the PR couldn't make mistakes this year. Like, you had to do this perfectly so that people would be more willing to engage with the Cardinals rather than steer further away from them.
Coming up next, we heard in Jeremy Rutherford's piece earlier today what other teams are thinking when it comes to a trade down in the draft. Does this make it more or less likely that the Blues could move up? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario with you to talk about my friends over at Classic Air Care, the company that has been making people comfortable since 1926. I was out mowing the grass yesterday, and as you do, you walk by your HVAC system, and it looks a little dirty from the winter and spring season, and so I went out and kind of cleaned it off, but I had my maintenance scheduled for this week for them to come out, and they'll do the same thing that they do every time they come out. I have it twice a year, springtime, the fall time, where they come out, they check the unit, they'll clean it, and make sure that there's no underlying issues that I'm not aware of. And that's because you've got technicians that have been doing this for 30 years. They've got technicians that are honest when they come out, that they're trustworthy when they come out. So they're going to give you the opinion of where your unit is at. So maybe you've got an older one that's been there for 20 plus years and you're just trying to squeeze through one more summer. Or maybe you got a newer one and you just want to make sure that that thing lasts as long as possible. That's where Classic Air Care comes into play. So you can schedule a tune-up. It's an $89 AC tune-up in the month of May, so you can jump on that. They've got financing options if you're looking to purchase a new HVAC system. So check all of that out at their website. Do all of the scheduling there. Just do me a favor and tell them Alex Ferrario sent you. Classic Air Care and classicaircare.com.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. So Alex, JR, our guy, Jeremy Rutherford, earlier today had a piece out over on The Athletic titled, "What Would It Take for the Blues to Trade Up in the 2026 NHL Draft?" Now, we'll talk to Jeremy Rutherford on the show tomorrow, get his full thoughts on this, but I want to get your thoughts right now, Alex. After reading this piece, people can find it over at The Athletic. My takeaway was, they ain't moving up, man. It ain't happening this year.
No.
But he asked the Sharks beat writer what it would take for the Blues to move up to number 2. And the Sharks beat writer basically said, hey, that Robert Thomas sure does look good.
Just stop it.
He also said, Adam Jiricek, the number 11 overall pick, that might be the kind of thing that makes sense for the Sharks as well. Colton Parayko, Kyrou, Booch, no.
No, come on.
So it just didn't seem likely that the Blues have the package that it would take to move up to number 2. I'll ask you as a quick follow-up before we get to the other option that he thought maybe would be most realistic. Would you be willing to do Jiricek plus 11 for number 2 overall?
I don't think so. It sounds like Jiricek actually could be one of those missing pieces that the Blues are going to need. You need special players on defense that can drive offense, that are big, rangy, can play with a little nastiness, and all of this is Adam Jiricek. So no, I just don't think I would do that. I don't think the player that you would be drafting at 2 is going to be that much of a difference maker than what I think Adam Jiricek could be for your team.
I would just rather have Jiricek in 11.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That's my personal view.
And I think if you did one of those value trade chart things that they always look at, I think that would be more valuable than the 2nd overall pick. Jiricek and the 11th overall pick.
Okay, so then JR goes into it and says, all right, what are the other places that you could potentially move up to? If it's not number 2, where do you go? So number 1 would take a lot. Number 4 maybe would be interesting with Chicago, but if Stenberg is somehow still available, they're probably not budging. Mm-hmm. And then he included the Winnipeg Jets at 8 and the Florida Panthers at 9. So he went into the number 8 overall pick with the Winnipeg Jets, talks to their beat writer for The Athletic and said, what would they want? He said, well, somebody like a right shot defenseman would be interesting for them. Certainly Robert Thomas would be helpful for the Winnipeg Jets. A sensible package might be Parayko and the Blues' late first-round pick. Is that something that you would be intrigued by, Alex?
No.
Parayko plus your 31st overall selection for the number 8 overall pick.
No, because I think Parayko's going to be more valuable than the 8th overall pick this upcoming season. And frankly, if I'm drafting at 8, I'd rather just draft at 11 and 15. I know you're keeping 11 and 15 and drafting at 8.
So you'd have 8, 11, and 15 in that scenario.
But to me, that's more of a rebuild move to where you're trading away a guy that's valuable for you now. You need Parayko to help Lindstein develop and Jiricek develop this season, because that's the most critical thing for this Blues team, is that those defensemen continue to develop and feel comfortable. So no, I would not do that. I think I would just stay at 11, 15, and 31 and keep Colton Parayko.
YouTube chat mentions this. Parayko wouldn't go there anyways. That's the other factor in this is...
Yeah, if he's not going to Buffalo, he's not going to Winnipeg.
Is he going to be willing, or any of your players willing to go to Winnipeg? Now, it's an easier sell, I would think, for San Jose, for Toronto, for Chicago, for Florida.
Correct.
Winnipeg would be a tough one. Yeah. And that's where you have a lot of no trade clauses for players that could potentially have the value that would be necessary. And I don't know that any of them, I would honestly bet against any of them being willing to go up to Winnipeg, especially like Jordan Kyrou. I don't think he's probably going to want to go play in Winnipeg.
The only way that I can see you moving up in this one is if Stenberg and Malhotra are gone by 4, which means Vancouver and San Jose take Stenberg, Malhotra, and McKenna. So then there's just defensemen. I think Chicago would entertain the idea of trading out of that spot, and then maybe the New York Rangers would entertain dropping out of 5, depending on what's there. Because when we had Anthony Donati on the prospect on, he told us about that Vijo Bork, the Swedish kid who is doing a lot of damage right now in this this men's tournament that's taking place. That would be a guy that, maybe the Blues would get aggressive and trade 11, 15, and 31, and maybe one of their players to get 5 so that they can draft that player. But I just don't think you're going to get 2 or 4. And to me, if you're not moving into the top 5, there's no point of trading, because the players from 6 to 15 are so similar in their upsides.
I was going to ask, like, that makes it almost, I don't know that I would do it, but it makes the Parayko straight up for 8 more intriguing to me because of what you're talking about. Because then if you're drafting 8, 11, and 15, now you've got 3 picks in the top 15 of those guys that you're talking about that there's not much of a difference for. So I had 3 guys that fit with the core of this team compared to Parayko, who's clearly on the outside looking in from the age perspective. Now, you can make the argument defensemen age a little bit more gracefully, so maybe there's a little bit more there left for Parayko. But if they're going to say, hey, 26 is kind of that cutoff on what we're looking for our core, doesn't it make more sense to add 3 guys that could be NHL impact players compared to Parayko?
What if you ended up then trading 8 and 11 to move up?
Sure.
You know, so
I
like
don't know
now,
if that gets you to 2, though.
maybe not. Could it get you to 3? Vancouver?
Could you do like
I
8,
don't see
11,
Vancouver moving.
8, 11, and Cairo to San Jose?
Maybe it could.
That's probably an
See,
overpay,
that's
but
that's too much.
And
for
maybe
me, but
maybe it gets you to Chicago or New York, but no, I don't think you get into the top 3 with that. Because see, I look at it with Colton Parayko. I think he's going to hold the same value at the trade deadline that he could have gotten you with the Buffalo Sabres. So I think you could probably get more value for him at the trade deadline rather than just getting the 8th overall pick for him.
I think so too. That I to give my perspective on this real quick, I don't know that there's going to be a trade out there that makes sense for both the Blues and the other team. That trade to me remains and always has been Kyrou plus Parayko for 2. To me, that's a fair trade. I think that makes a lot of sense for both teams. If San Jose doesn't view it that way, totally cool, man. That is your call. You can choose to keep that number 2 overall pick. You can go in a different direction. That's more than understandable. But that's the kind of thing that I would be open to if I'm the Blues. I'm not overly interested in 11 plus something, to go up there and move like 11, 15 and Parayko. No, I'm not doing that.
No, that's doing more damage to your team than good. Like I think 11 and 15 and Parayko could be more beneficial for your team in the next 3 years than trading all of those to move up to 8. That's not going to make that much of a difference. And frankly, I think it's more of a reason that you should target a position player, because if 11 and 15 aren't going to get you into the 2nd or the 3rd or the 4th or the 5th overall pick, then call up Seattle, who's got the 7th or 6th overall pick in this draft, and say, hey, do you want 11 and 15 too? Because we need a center. You've got 2 guys. Matty Beniers would be my choice. Let's make a deal. Call up Ottawa. Hey, you guys are picking 32nd overall. Do you want 11? Because let's talk Shane Pinto. Like, that makes more sense for the Blues than trading 11, 15, and Parayko to draft a guy that you're probably going to get the same upside 3 picks after Winnipeg.
Totally agree. To me, this is more about players than it is about picks.
Yes.
I think the Blues are in a spot, and that doesn't mean established veteran guys that have 2 years left on their deal that are 35 years old. That's not the direction you need to be going. But I would be targeting much more guys that are either coming up on a contract or have term remaining. That makes sense for the Blues in their long-term build. Over on The Athletic, the other piece that stood out to me today, Alex, is they went through each team and asked their respective beat writers who is the one NHL free agent this offseason that each team should sign. To give some perspective on this, just because I was curious who some of these other teams are pinpointing, almost everybody said one of like 4 different players, which speaks to what this offseason is in the free agent class that exists. For the Blues, JR said no one.
Agreed.
Said the Blues are in the midst of a retool that is setting up nicely with a number of high draft picks that are coming in and performing, plus Jimmy Snuggerud, Dvorsky, Stenberg, Lindstein, etc. There's nobody in this free agency pool that makes a whole lot of sense for the Blues. If I told you, though, Alex, you're in Alexander Steen's shoes, and for whatever reason, there is a requirement that you must sign one free agent this offseason, who's the guy that you would be targeting?
I mean, you asked me this in the office. I had one in mind, but Alex Tuch was the one I had in mind, but that's just going to be too expensive.
Yeah, it's going to be
for a guy that doesn't
money.
mesh. So there's 2 of them, but like there's stipulations here. I think the only way I sign a guy is if I'm trading the piece that I'm signing him for. So I've got 2 guys. One is Victor Arvidsson, who just scored 25 goals for the Boston Bruins, Swedish forward, so we know how that usually goes. But I can see them signing this guy and trading a Pius Suter. Get something back in return for Pius, trade Victor Arvidsson, you make Pavel Buchnevich a 3rd-line center for you moving forward, and Arvidsson could be some offense on the wing. The other one, and I brought it up on the show before, is Jamie Alexiak. And I know people laugh at it, But my idea is if you trade Parayko, you're replacing him with a big defenseman, defensive-minded defenseman who can play a lot of minutes for you. Because last year he ate like 25, 26 minutes a night. He plays the left side, can play the right side. He's big, and he'll defend the front of the net. But I'm doing that to maximize my return with Colton Parayko. But those are really it, because I think anything else you're overpaying for.
It is such a trash free agency market. And now, I should clarify. It is a really bad free agency market for the position that the Blues are in. If you need a complementary winger for a third line, you need a second or third pair defensemen, there's players here that can help you. Mm-hmm. The Blues 3 to 5 years ago, there's a lot of guys that I would be looking at this offseason and be like, yeah, like you could go get Claude Giroux. Sure, fine. You could go out there and sign Jaden Schwartz, and he could give you representative minutes.
Let's bring him back.
For the Blues. You could go sign Vladimir Tarasenko.
Let's bring him back.
Another one.
Let's get the band back together.
Oh. I'll go ahead and give you one, Alex.
Schwartz is in the front office.
Zach Werenski's not coming here, man, so don't bring him.
No, I know.
Oh, okay.
You're going to hate this. If the Blues make a move with Jordan Bennington this offseason.
I know where he's going.
Here we go. I think you could do a lot worse than signing Stuart Skinner as a backup goalie. He's 27 years old. I don't think you're going to have to break the bank for him. As a true backup, I think he's fine. And that would be the direction that I would go for this one. But it requires, like you mentioned, making another move first and then having this to backfill that position at a somewhat reasonable cost.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd get more value on the trade market for Parayko than you would Bennington. So I'd keep Bennington and do the Parayko one. But I mean, you're not wrong. Like if teams are calling and giving up some good offers for Jordan Bennington, I'm not opposed to it. I don't think it's a smart move. But Joel Hofer is going to get a bulk of the work, and Stuart Skinner showed that at least for Pittsburgh, he can handle a decent load. It's just by the time you get to the postseason, if you make the postseason, he's not an option. So, like, you die with the main guy in Joel Hofer, which is fine by me. I also just don't like the idea of overpaying for Stuart Skinner, because I think we're talking $5 million with probably 2 or 3 years attached to it, because that's what a team that needs a starter would probably offer to him. And if you look at the market, he's the best starter option that's going to be out there.
It's crazy, but it's true.
I don't want to pay that and then probably have to pay Joel Hofer $7 or $8 million and have $13 million tied up for 2 goaltenders, when right now I have probably, I'm going to have 8 or 9, and then when Hofer signs, you're going to go out there and probably have a minor league guy step in.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll dive into the junk drawer, but next, JJ Wetherholt's going through his first real slump, if you want to call it that, in the big leagues. What are we going to learn from this next stretch from him? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here. The Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals fell yesterday to the Royals 2-0, but they take 2 of 3 from Kansas City. They are off today. They'll start a 3-game set at home against the Pittsburgh Pirates tomorrow night. 6:45 will be first pitch. Matthew Liberatore will be on the mound for St. Louis. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
For the first time in his major league career, we're seeing, I'll call it a slump for J.J. Wetherholt and the St. Louis Cardinals. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN.
Love it when I'm a guy and my slump comes into 3 games, and it's, pretty good slump to be in.
Yeah, it's not bad. He hasn't been awful, but in the month of May, he's batting 182, and his OPS is 540. Given what we had seen from him to start out the season, I would say this qualifies as a slump. He's not striking out a whole lot. He's still walking a decent amount, but he only has 1 extra base hit so far this month. It was a home run, and he's 10 for his last 55. Again, for him, it's a pretty sizable slump that we're seeing. And over the weekend, it wasn't great, man. He ends up going 0 for 8 in that series and just doesn't do a whole lot offensively for the Cardinals. This is where it gets interesting to me, because I have not looked deep enough into it to see what exactly opposing pitchers are doing to get him out. But my guess is, if I go back in and look under the hood, there is something they're attacking, whether that's a high fastball that seems to be getting him a decent amount, slider, whatever it is. They're attacking him in a different way. They have something on him, and now it's time for him to adjust. I think he will. I'm not overly concerned about this because I think that guy is a pro's pro and he will figure out whatever adjustments are necessary. But Alex, this is where you start to see the separation between really good baseball players and special baseball players. The really good ones, it might take another few weeks before he gets to that place. The special ones, we could see it as early as in this next series. He combats whatever it is that they're doing. He finds a new way to win at the plate, and you start to see some of that production fall.
Yeah, and I mean, look at what Jordan Walker dealt with this season, to where his slump went in, and it took him, 3 or 4 games, and then he found his way out of it. So, that's what determines where you're at. But the thing with J.J. Wetherholt is what happens this season doesn't really dictate what happens next season. And what I mean by that is this whole season is going to be a learning curve for him, to where you're figuring out Major League Baseball, you're figuring out the schedule, how to handle it, how people adjust to you and how you adjust to them. And then by the next season, you get a little bit more information about how to handle a full 162 at the major leagues and how to adjust and how to work through it. So the slump will be very fascinating to see how he comes out of it and his ability to adjust on the fly. But I still don't think this season ends and he has a month where it's a slump that dictates what J.J. Wetherholt's ceiling is. It's just going to have to be, hey, there's a little bit more learning that goes into this, as we just saw with Jordan Walker this season.
And the nice part about him for his slump, and again, we'll see how long it takes him to get out of it, because BK's right. That's what determines the great players from the good players. But the thing with J.J. Wetherholt is, I feel like his at-bats still look like quality at-bats.
I agree.
When Walker went through that mini slump, it was, okay, he's going back to chasing that slider away, and he was starting to strike out quite a bit, and the ball was on the ground a lot. I still haven't felt that way about J.J. Wetherholt, where you're seeing him, okay, he looks overmatched, or he's starting to swing and miss a little bit more. It still feels like he's working counts, and things just aren't going his way right now. Now, part of that is, maybe a little bit of bad luck, but also what BK's saying is baseball's found something in his swing that they're trying to attack without knowing it. My guess would be it's something low and in. I feel like that's where he's being attacked, or was attacked a lot against the Kansas City Royals. But that's the thing that has been so impressive for me. Now, maybe that will change, but we'll see how long he gets out of it. But as long as he continues to put together good at-bats like we're seeing with that plate approach, I feel no worries about it. He's going to get out of this. I think he's going to be one of those guys that's a great player that snaps out of these slumps quicker than most.
I do find it interesting. This is something that was part of his profile down in the minor leagues last year. I remember Kyle Reese was talking about this, and it appears that it's been similar at the major league level so far this year. Do you know how many home runs J.J. Wetherholt has hit this year on a non-fastball?
On a non-fastball?
Deep into the numbers
Something
here.
other than a fastball, a breaking pitch or an off-speed pitch of any kind. Do you know how many home runs? He has 8 home runs on the season. Do you know how many of them have come against the
6.
pitch other than a fastball?
I don't think he's homered on fastballs, so I'm going to say 1.
0.
Okay.
He has not yet homered on a pitch other than a fastball.
It was one of the other, man.
He's batting 175 this year against breaking pitches and 210 against off-speed pitches. Slugging percentage, as you would expect, is very low against both of those as well. The reason I bring that up, I wonder if you start to see pitchers pitch to J.J. Wetherholt the way that they had pitched to Walker previously, where they pitch backwards. They're just going to give you a bunch of junk that's outside of the zone. Hopefully you decide to start chasing against it because you get overly aggressive as a young player. And the hope is, if you're a Cardinals fan, he doesn't do that. He says, you know what, I'll take my walks. That's fine. You guys want to pitch me out there? Cool, put me on. You got Ivan Herrera coming up. You got to deal with him. And then you've got to deal with Alec Burleson, and then you got to deal with Jordan Walker. I'm more than happy to take my walk here. I'll get on, and then eventually you will see pitchers start to come back into the zone against him. But that could be the kind of thing that's happening right now as well.
Yeah, well, and that's the environment, and frankly, that's the ace in the hole that J.J. Wetherholt has here, to where it's like he's great at identifying pitches in the strike zone, and being the leadoff hitter is more than just doing damage with the bat. It's doing damage on the base paths. And when you've got Walker and Herrera and Burleson the way that they are, and then when Lars Nootbaar comes back, there's not a whole lot of ability to pitch around because those guys you're going to have to pitch to, and those guys can do more damage than J.J. Wetherholt. So I'm not worried about this at all. And again, even if the season ends and he goes through slumps for months at times, I still think what you saw in the first month of the season wasn't just a hot streak from J.J. Wetherholt. That's what his talent is. Now it's figuring out how to handle major league pitching throughout a season.
Even in this slump, since May 4th, he has scored 6 runs in 11 games. So he's still finding ways to contribute, Alex. And he's on pace this year now to score 115 runs over the course of the season. Yeah. He's doing just fine. The fact that this is considered to be a slump from J.J. Wetherholt speaks to how great he was early in the season. But I will be curious to see what his adjustment is. What's it going to look like over the next couple of weeks, especially as now you get into these games against divisional foes? They're going to know you as well as anybody because they're going to spend more time scouting the rest of their division than anybody else will for these one-off types of series. What's it going to look like for him against these teams that are certainly going to know how to attack him? I can't wait to see it, truly. I'm excited about it, just like I was excited to see how Walker responded whenever he went through that very short streak where he went back to chasing low and away, some of the same issues we're presenting, and then over the weekend, that home run, by the way, we would have led the show with this as recently as a couple of weeks ago, but the home run that Jordan Walker hit on Friday night against the changeup, I think that was a 1-2 count, if I'm not mistaken.
Jeez.
That's ridiculous, dude. Dead center field, best pitch for the opposition. It's well placed, and you hit that thing like 425 to dead center. Absolutely absurd into Freeze's long. Every time I watch Jordan Walker this year, I come away saying to myself, that's a star. I don't know how long this is going to last, but that's a star that I'm watching right now. It's crazy. He's really good. All right, coming up in about...
Was I supposed to follow with it?
I didn't know
Do you
if
want
you
me
guys...
to take my shirt off?
Whoa!
Oh, Walker!
Yeah, you're crazy, man. You're wild. Way to go.
Didn't know if you guys had anything to say about Walker. I understand you didn't. I kind of took it all. I apologize. It was long-winded.
Man, you're kind of drooling over him
Yeah, I
over
was
there.
going to say, why don't you wipe your mouth, man?
So you guys think Joshua Baez is coming up soon?
No.
No.
Cool. Coming up in 10 minutes, what lies ahead for the Cardinals in this stretch against their divisional opponents? We'll talk about it coming up here in just a bit. But next, it's time for the Junk Drawer here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Me and T-Bone just did a little nerdy breakdown, Alex. We'll get into the junk drawer here in just a moment.
Breakdown with you two.
They're coming inside on J.J. Wetherholt a lot lately. So that's what's happening. It's going inside. All right, go ahead, Alex. What do you have for us today in the junk drawer?
Is that what your eye saw? Yeah. T-Bone, a professional scout over here. He saw all of that.
I did say that before we started looking into it. I said I felt like they were going in more.
See, there you go. You always get the answers with BK and Ferrario. So it was a big weekend in the Ferrario household.
Yeah?
My oldest and my middle had their first dance recital. And let me tell you.
I'd rather die.
What?
Wow.
I'm kidding.
Wow. Jeez.
My sister did dance growing up.
Next time Luca's got a soccer game or a baseball game, and when you say he's got a first one, I'm going to say I'd rather die.
I would obviously be very proud, and I think it would be amazing to go to my daughter's dance recitals. I will tell you this, as an older brother, I did not enjoy them.
Yeah, well, I have three nieces.
How as a father?
I have three nieces that are also in dance recitals, and let me tell you, they're not fun to sit through for 3.5 hours.
That's what I was going to say.
When you got your own
6
kids
hours,
in it,
or you've got about 4 minutes of your kid actually on stage, and you're not exactly sure when that's going to happen. You got to be there for the full time.
And I also think it comes from the sacrifice of as a parent when you have to sit through every practice for an hour every week for all year long. But both of them were excited. Adelaide she's a rule follower. She loves dance. So, like, the dance that she knew, she crushed it. Knew every single move. And, like, for a 5-year-old, that's impressive.
Hell yeah.
She had 4 dances. Now, Emma, we have discovered that Emma is going to be a leader in some capacity because that kid does not want to do anything other than her own stuff. So she's on the end of this dance line. There's about 7 or 8 girls, and it's on a high school stage. She walks out in her cute dress. The song starts. The first thing she does is she drops down to all 4s and starts kicking her feet up in the air like a mule.
Sure.
This is not a part of the dance, by the way. The other girls are doing their own. I'm positive. The other girls are doing their own thing. Then she starts doing rolls on the stage on her butt, just rolling around while the other girls are doing like an actual tap dance number. Then she just sits up, stares at the crowd, starts waving, and then starts picking up glitter from the stage.
So I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Don't get mad at me for asking this question.
Well, you just told me that my kids don't matter, so.
Obviously, that's adorable. You're paying for these classes, right?
Yeah.
How did you feel knowing we just spent 3 months paying for these classes and the payoff was my daughter went up there and did mule kicks and spins and played with glitter for 4 minutes.
You know what?
You didn't think about it until you brought it up.
I didn't think about it until you said it, but I also, it didn't bother me because I watched the practices and she did the dances.
Okay.
She does them. I think it's just on the stage.
Yeah. She had other plans.
She's had other plans. She's a performer in the sense of she's like, I'm a difference maker. Yeah. I'm going to do what I want to do rather than do what these kids are doing. But the part that really got me, real stressed me out, was on one of the dances, she started to decide to do spins, like standing up, just kept spinning in circles. The amount of times that she got close to either the edge of the stage or the stairs.
Alex is about to sprint up there.
I'm sitting in the seat with my mom and my dad and our siblings, and I'm like, oh my God, she's going to fall off the stage. She didn't. She survived. She had a lot of fun. But then afterwards, she goes, Daddy, did you see me? And I said, yeah, baby, you did awesome. She goes, I was great. I'm like, you were, baby girl. So we have decided that she is not really into following rules. She's going to do whatever the hell she wants.
Yeah.
But
she had fun.
They loved
ultimately,
it.
That's what matters.
And God, when they come out in those costumes, they're so freaking cute. One of the dances, Adelaide had her little dance outfit on, and they had these boas and then sunglasses. And so they turned around, they walked to the back of the stage, they stood up with their boas and sunglasses on, and they came out and they flaunted them on. Oh my God, it was so freaking cute.
I can't wait for the Little League sports.
Yeah, well, it won't matter. None of it matters. And I was in hell the whole time. I'm sure you will be too.
Saying I'd rather die might have been a little strong.
Yeah, just a little bit. You think? The Little League stuff is going to be fun. Like Adelaide's going to do, so she's doing gymnastics and swim. Emma's doing gymnastics and swim in the summer. And then
Adelaide
will do soccer in the fall.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's the first taste of it.
You guys wanting to be coaches, or you guys want to stay to the side?
I don't want to coach at all.
Okay.
I actually talked to Kara about this recently.
Yeah.
So she asked me if I would be interested in coaching, and I told her, I was like, I saw so many kids growing up whose dads were the coach on our football teams, where their relationship with their dad changed in part because of their dad having to be tough on them, right, when they're on the field. So that's not something I'm interested in. Now, if we get into a situation where they just need somebody to volunteer to help out a little bit on the side, sure, I'll help out whatever you need, right? But I'm going to be off to the side. I just want to be dad.
That's what the one sport that I told Katie that I'd like to help is basketball if they show any interest in it, because it was a sport that I played growing up and it's a lot of fun. But I'm like, I don't want to be involved with it because I know how I am in competitiveness. Like, I get competitive. I don't want to put that off on my kids. Let them be competitive so that I can just support. Plus, like, I want to watch. I don't want to have to worry about 5 or 6 other kids doing it. I want to just pay attention to my kid
100%.
and enjoy it while she's doing it. So, yeah, I don't want much to do with coaching. I'll volunteer and that'll be about it.
I think I would have fun doing it. I don't want to do it for Luca's sake. Yeah. I just don't want him to have like the coach and dad relationship. I just want to be dad.
My dad coached a couple of basketball games when we were in 8th grade because my coach, our teacher, had miss for his wife's birth. And like, my dad enjoyed it, but he was like, it sucks because you're not watching. You're sitting on the bench. You're focusing on everyone else. It's like, I just want to sit and be a fan of the game.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. It's 103, your time check, brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll play a game of in or out. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you if we are in or out here on 101 ESPN. But next, the Cardinals are about to enter another significant stretch of their season. What lies ahead for them against these divisional opponents? We'll talk about it next here on 101 ESPN. The Cardinals have a huge stretch coming up. I feel like I've said that a few different times this year. We had the 17 games in 17 days, which became 16 days in 17, or 16 games in 17 days, rather. Now, got a bunch of divisional opponents that are on the schedule. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Starting tomorrow night, you got 3 at home against Pittsburgh. Then you continue with 3 game sets on the road at Cincinnati and at Milwaukee. And then you return back home to round out the month of May with a 3-game stretch at home against the Chicago Cubs. Wow, you only play them twice before.
Nope. Right after the Cubs?
No.
Yeah, man.
Brave series on June 30th, and we're all very excited about it. If you want to see them here in at Busch Stadium, July the 10th is your opportunity to do so. Be sure to get your tickets right now. I'm sure they're good tickets still to be had.
I'll be tarps off for that one. And only that series.
Maybe Ollie will buy them for you. We'll ask him about that tomorrow here on BK and Ferrario.
After he goes tarps off.
Alex, in this 12-game stretch, what lies ahead for them? What are we going to learn about the team as they get ready to go up against what is apparently the best division in all Major League Baseball?
I think that, when I know there's some sarcasm in it, but I think this division is going to be the one that's going to probably be represented by 2, if not 3 teams in the playoffs this year. And I think what you're going to learn is if this playoff hope is real for the Cardinals, because if you can go through this stretch and pick up series wins against these NL Central teams, you continue to catapult yourself up to potentially being at the top of the NL Central. Like the Cubs one is going to be the most fascinating because we've seen the Cardinals play the Brewers. We've already seen them beat the Pirates. The Reds I'm not too concerned about for their struggles lately. So really it's the Cubs that you're honed in on with this. And with the exception of this stretch and then that stretch of the Braves once you get to the beginning of July, this is one of the toughest stretches you're going to go through. And if you can find a way to come out on top with multiple series wins, you keep yourself in the same competition as the Brewers and the Cubs, maybe ahead of those teams by the end of May going into June. And now you're talking about realistically being a playoff team that can just kind of keep pace the rest of the way for the NL Central spot.
Yeah, I think this is where you're going to start to see the separation in the NL Central. Now it becomes a question of, are you going to be part of that group that kind of separates and can contend for the NL Central / the wild card? Or are you going to be one of the potentially 2 or 3 teams that kind of just falls off and they're slowly starting to ride back into the abyss? Like the Pirates and Reds feel like they're on that trajectory right now because they haven't been playing good baseball and they're slowly starting to fall back down to that pack. I think this is what that stretch is going to determine, because this is the stretch where the Cubs could potentially really, or not just the Cubs, but the division could potentially start to bury you and start to add up on the tiebreakers. Now, luckily, you've already taken 4 from Pittsburgh, which helps you, but these are big games because of the tiebreakers for later on in the year against these teams. I think that's what we're looking at in this stretch, and I think that's for this stretch across the National League Central, because it's not like the Cardinals are just playing 4 games against the NL Central foes. I mean, you look at it, most of the teams in the division are getting ready to go through sets like this. The Pirates have got 7 games, 3 against the Cardinals, and then 4 against the Cubs. Brewers are playing the Cubs tonight, starting with the series, then they play you. So this is when we're going to start to see that separation of this log jam here in the NL Central.
I think the Cardinals, as of today, I would have them as the 2nd or 3rd best team in the NL Central. I think they are battling with Milwaukee for that 2nd spot in the division. I continue to believe Chicago is the best team in this division. Do you guys, let's start out here. Do you guys agree with that assessment of how this division is set up currently? Cubs are at the top, and then it's a tier of you with Milwaukee, and then it's the Pirates / Reds at the bottom. I would personally go Pirates, then Reds. Do you guys agree with that assessment, or would you tier it out a little differently?
I think I'd put Milwaukee up there with Chicago because they've dealt with injuries this season, and I just think their pitching is so damn good that by the end of the season, you're going to be talking about Milwaukee and Chicago. So I'd kind of tier those 2 teams together. Then I'd have the Cardinals, and then I'd have the Pirates, and then I'd have the Reds.
Yeah, I would have Milwaukee in the same tier with the Cardinals. I agree with the way that you've got it. I just don't know what to make of them. Now, that happens every year with Milwaukee, but...
This freaking team, man. They're doing it again. They've been really good lately.
The pitching's been awesome, and they're without Jackson Churio, and they're without Christian Yelich.
I think they're kind of with you, right? And I think we're going to... I mean, you kind of saw that when they played them. I don't think they are beyond the Cardinals, because I don't think they're up there with the Cubs. I think the Cubs... I'm with BK. I think they're in their own tier. I think they're in the 2nd tier of the National League, and then you get to that 3rd tier, which is kind of like Cardinals, Brewers, they're like Padres, Phillies into that grouping.
I'm really curious to see what the Brewers become ultimately. And I'm curious to see if the Cubs are able to overcome some of these injuries that they're dealing with right now, and the injuries that they may not be able to get some of these guys back. But those two teams to me are like the pitching with the Brewers, the offense with the Cubs. I think that's the best thing that any team has in this division. And then you look at the Cardinals, and I think they're just like the best of the remaining bunch. If you're able to go over the course of this 12-game stretch, like 8-4, 7-5, that's where I think you leave that and say to yourself, all right, we're into the month of June. You are now 35-24 or 34-25. That's the time where you start to really look at things and say to yourself, this might be real, man. The Cardinals might legitimately be some level of a contender this season. And then it gets into a whole lot of other questions about what does that mean? What do you do? Do you start considering some of the guys that are at AAA, bringing them up to the major league level to see if they can add in a little bit more of a spark? Do you consider adding an arm at the trade deadline that can fit into your bullpen? I'm not talking about a closer. You've got that right now. But do you consider adding something that can help you? Do you still look at moving a Riley O'Brien or Lars Nootbaar, Dustin May, JoJo Romero at the trade deadline? That's when you start to reassess things, I think. But it starts with this stretch where you actually get to play the Cubs for the first time. You get to see Milwaukee again for more than just that 2-game set. And, dude, if you're able to win like 2 out of 3 against Pittsburgh, you start the season with 6 out of 7 against that team, you could be the one that basically buries them before they even really get started.
Yeah, this is the series that you can basically supplant your supremacy in the NL Central. Like, you could basically tell everybody it's us. And nobody may believe in it, which is fine, because if you're the Cardinals, you're getting the job done and you're beating the teams that are trying to fight for those spots. I think the real telling series is going to be Milwaukee and Chicago, because I think we kind of know what Pittsburgh is. We know what Cincinnati is. Milwaukee, because you haven't seen an actual series against them, and I think they're going to be a little bit healthier now versus when you played them before. And Chicago, and even Chicago's dealing with injuries we were talking about before the show. But that offense, you're going to get a really good tell for what your pitching staff is when you go up against that Cubs team.
Somebody on the text line said, guys, honest question, I don't know the answer to it, but I'm curious why the Pirates over the Reds. Reds were predicted in the preseason to be better than the Pirates. I trust the Pirates pitching. The Reds have been dealing with some injuries on their pitching staff. Chase Burns is really, really good. But beyond that, their pitching has not been very good this season.
Well, it's not just the pitching. The offense has been terrible as well.
They got De La Cruz, and that's it.
At least that I think you could have predicted a little bit easier. They were trusting a lot of young guys to take a step, kind of similar to the Cardinals in that degree. They haven't. And so you needed the pitching to be as good as it was last year, and it just hasn't been. Pitching is what carried them to a postseason appearance last year, and this season they have not been that at all. Again, Chase Burns, that guy rocks. He's really, really good already. The rest of the staff is mediocre at best, and it's actually been worse than your starting pitching so far this season. So, yeah, that's why I would go Pittsburgh over Cincinnati personally. I don't think they have any one thing that can carry them, whereas with Pittsburgh, they've got a big 3 in their rotation, and their lineup's a little better. It's deeper than what you have in Cincinnati right now.
Yeah, I agree with that because, like, with the Reds, I mean, they didn't have the offense last year either, as you mentioned, and De La Cruz fell off a cliff in the second half, but the pitching helped carry them, and they don't have the pitching, so that you need your offense to pick you up, especially at that ballpark. That offense should be better. And it just hasn't been. And same with Pittsburgh. Like, Pittsburgh, yes, they've got the pitching that they can rely on. Their offense has kind of underwhelmed so far this year, which is a little surprising because I thought it would be better. Meanwhile, you got the Brewers who've got the pitching. You've got the Cubs that have kind of pitching. They've also got an offense, so that can really help carry them.
By the way, over this 6 games, Pittsburgh and then Cincinnati, the way that things are set up right now, we'll see if anything were to change. But you potentially avoid Paul Skeens in the next 3 games.
That's not...
you don't want to avoid that.
I know, but you potentially avoid him. And then against Cincinnati, you avoid their best guy in Burns as well, potentially. Feels like each of these series.
See, so the Cardinals haven't beaten anybody yet this year, so all of this is fraud.
No need to apologize for it. You beat the guy that's on the other side. That's it. That's all you can do. But the fact that they potentially avoid both Skeens and Burns over the next 2 series will be That would be nice if you're able to do that if you're the Cardinals.
Show me
As
who
of
you've
right
beaten.
now, you're scheduled to face both Mizorowski and Harrison, though, when you get that series against Milwaukee.
Man.
Those are the two best dudes that they've got over there. So it's not all, rainbows and butterflies.
We're throwing McGreevy and May against Milwaukee.
That'll be a really fun series. I'm looking forward to that.
That's actually the two pitchers that I'd be, most confident in of what you just threw out there against Milwaukee.
No doubt.
Yeah,
Those are the guys
that's
that
true.
I enjoy
If you
watching
would have
both
said
of them.
Palante and Leahy, I'd be like, this will be a roller coaster.
He will start Game 3. That Milwaukee series.
Well, you've already won the series by then.
That's
what I'm talking about, Alex.
All right.
No more. It's a little cold in here now.
314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line for In or Out coming up next. 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line for in or out. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you if we are in or out here on BK and Ferrario. All right, guys. In or out. The Cardinals will have at least 3 All-Stars this year. At least 3 All-Stars.
Man, we're riding that train here.
That's kind of fun.
Riley O'Brien. I think Jordan Walker gets in. And do you believe in the pitching sustaining? I'm going to say out. I'm going to say you get 2.
I think I would lean out as well. I think it's going to be Walker, O'Brien. I don't know who the third would be. DH is so hard to get in if you're Herrera.
McGreevy, if you keep it up the rest of the way.
Would Herrera be listed as a catcher?
I think he'd be listed as a catcher. I mean, he's probably not getting voted in. Like Baldwin's going to win the vote.
That's the thing. It'll be Baldwin, and I would assume Will Smith.
Yeah, he'd probably get the backup. Now, you could put him in DH, but then you're talking about like with Ohtani.
Good luck.
And then like the backup could be anybody then for the DH spot. So like that would probably have to be his path. And even then you're talking about other guys that are putting up really good years too.
I think the hope would be McGreevy be the third, and he'd just have to sustain what he's doing the rest of the way.
That'd be interesting.
If you believe, I don't know if the ERA stays there and the strikeout stuff won't be high, so it'd be hard to vote him in. But we'd all know how this goes too, with guys getting injured and back out.
Well, and the big part for McGreevy that'll help him is he won't be voted in by fans. His pitching doesn't get voted in. That's his peers, which would maybe help him out.
I think you guys might be forgetting somebody.
Who? Justin Brule?
JJ Wetherholt.
Justin Brule.
Couldn't JJ Wetherholt be your second baseman?
I mean, I think Albies will win the vote. I get it. His numbers may not be there, but he's name recognition.
Okay. And
Marte, by the way. Terrain's been awesome. I don't see it.
It's always name recognition for those, especially the votes when it comes in. So if somebody's unable to play, then I could see him getting in, but I don't think you get that original vote.
I'm going to say in just because I think there are a number of ways that this could happen. I think Herrera could. Burley maybe. We'll see. I think Wetherholt could be an option here. And I do think you'll see, depending on, barring something unforeseen, Jordan Walker is one of the top storylines. He should be voted in. And Riley O'Brien, I think, should be in the All-Star game as well. Again, barring something unforeseen.
I'll go next year real quick because it'll tie into this. In or out, the Cardinals faithful will vote Jordan Walker into the All-Star game as a starter. It's the kind of fan base that can get guys elected. Yeah. And if they're buying in, as we're starting to see, they might be able to get him
does it get him in compared to like the LA Dodgers and those types of markets? Because I feel like those are the ones that get those guys in the most. I think the
good thing for him is, like you mentioned the Dodgers, they don't really have an outfielder that they're going to vote in past him. Because Hernandez isn't going to be voted in past him. Maybe Pages gets voted in. I don't know.
I think James Wood will get in this year.
Acuna
will get votes. Yeah. I don't know about Wood on the votes, though. That's the thing that'll make it hard for him.
I think he gets votes because he's just recognition.
But I'm talking about, like, people vote on starters. He may not get the votes to start. He'll be an all-star.
You know who else gets some of those votes is Pete Crow Armstrong. I know Cardinals fans aren't going to hear it, but Cubs fans are all in on this team.
That's what I mean, those big markets like that.
And he is a guy that Cubs fans have an affinity for. Mm-hmm. And he has not been great offensively this year, but he's special as a defender. Now, he did have a weird moment over the weekend. That was a bad look, but...
No, you don't cuss out people that are giving you the middle finger?
Women,
when you're
no,
playing?
I do not do that. Don't recommend doing that for professional athletes either. Just go ahead and walk away and go
regardless,
back to the
women or man, I don't think I would do it no matter what if I'm a professional athlete.
Women and children, go ahead and just don't do that.
That's children would be the worst. Children would be the worst.
Yeah, I'll say in, though. I'll say in because PCA, Walker, Acuna, James Wood, Carroll, I think there are some interesting options. I'll say that Cardinals fans get behind Jordan Walker and get him in.
I'd say out. I think that's, even as great as the fan base is, it's tough to compete with those big markets and the name recognition. But if he continues it, he puts his name into the James Wood conversation. So I think it's close. I just don't know if he gets that amount of votes to get there.
By the way, Andy Pages would be the outfielder for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
That they would.
That's what Keelan said.
I lean out.
I'm glad I listened to the show.
Yeah, I was listening to that one, actually.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I'm learning that if
Did you change while I was
I'm
gone?
learning if I'm staring at people's faces, I learn to listen a little bit more. That's why I don't hear you a lot, because I can't look at you. So I'm just staring at Tanner, so I hear what Tanner says. No, I really won't hear you.
I would lean out on my in or out. I think you're a year away. I think maybe in a year when the fans really start to come back, then you get them in.
In or out, guys, these trade proposals that are showing up on social media for the Blues are getting outlandish. Did you see the Minnesota Wild trade proposal that Michael Russo dropped?
Well, are you talking about the one that they actually
that was reported
to the Blues?
Yes, that was reported. It was Jesper Wallstedt, the goaltender, and Daniil Yurov, who is a third-line center for the Minnesota Wild, was reportedly the deal that Minnesota called St. Louis with and said, hey, we'll take Robert Thomas. In or out, Thomas isn't getting traded.
I don't think he's getting traded.
I do find it interesting that got leaked. I don't really know the purpose of why it got leaked, but because there's always a motive behind everything. I don't understand the purpose.
Either. Well, and it came after Minnesota
after they got eliminated was like,
end of season
we did try. Look, we tried.
Yeah.
Did you try?
I just like because Russo basically said in this like they're going to circle back with him. I don't even know what the point of circling back is. You don't have the pieces to trade for Robert Thomas.
That's the thing. If the headliner in the deal is a goalie, it doesn't make sense for the Blues.
No.
If they had the equivalent of that goaltender prospect as a defenseman or a center,
like Buffalo did,
maybe you have a real deal to potentially offer to St. Louis, and suddenly you could get Doug Armstrong curious, but this isn't it.
No, if you didn't
have a young goalie,
if you didn't have Joel Hofer, then I could see the starting 100%. Point of this conversation. But yeah, it's every time I see, because there was another one that came from Toronto about them trying to acquire it, and it was a couple of forwards that wasn't the first overall. Any of these proposals is being more and more solidified to me that there's not going to be a Robert Thomas trade.
All right, let's get to these from the text line 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. From the 618, guys, in or out? JJ Wetherholt will be traded before he gets extended because the Cardinals are now about building their pipeline, not about building their core.
JJ Wetherholt? Mm-hmm. See, I wasn't staring at you, so I had to make sure that you said that correctly. They're going to restock their pipeline by trading the biggest name in their pipeline.
What they're asking, are they going to be the Rays? I mean, that's the way I
he's expensive, but he's not expensive probably for what the next.
I think they're saying like 4 years from now he'll be traded instead of extended.
I'm out. I don't think they do that. If this guy's a star, you keep the star.
I am out as well. I do think they will be a little more Rays-y. I don't think they're going full-blown Rays model, and I can see where they would be willing to extend Wetherholt.
Like Burleson would be more of a trade him than Wetherholt.
Yeah.
He will be 30 years old when he gets to the end of his current deal. Do they extend him or do they trade him? Which one's more likely? I don't know. So I'll say out, they extend him ultimately, but I don't have a whole lot of confidence in that. I have no idea.
Well, you hope you're winning or in your winning window by that time, and if he's a guy that is performing as a star at 30 years old, you keep that guy. You keep your winning going.
Or you find the next guy.
Oh, that's a dangerous game.
Yeah, I know.
Welcome to roulette.
There's a reason there's only one team that pulls off what the Rays do.
Welcome to roulette. There's 6 chambers and there's 4 bullets. Go ahead.
For sure. But this is what
opens.
Yeah, guys, I don't know what their plan is. I think they're going to pay for some guys. Don't get me wrong, but is Wetherholt going to be the one? Is he going to be somebody that you pay over a Jordan Walker? Is he going to be somebody that you pay over a Rainiel Rodriguez? Is he going to be somebody that you pay over Liam Doyle if Doyle works out? Like, there's going to be a lot of considerations that go into this stuff. It's not just a clear cut, he's going to be the next superstar player and he will be here for the next decade. I don't know that.
I think you're taking crazy pills. You need to chill over there.
From Dirk Diggler's unit. In or out
has gone to your head.
Baez will hit 40 home runs in a season in the big leagues.
Out. Come on. Let's not get that excited about him. He's good. Not 40 home runs.
He's also very splitty at the minor league level.
Yeah.
BK, we talked. I saw him in person on Wednesday.
Ooh, look at that flex, huh?
Yeah, I went to a AAA ball game for $10. I don't see 40 home run potential from him. And when I brought up what we saw, that's why we noticed that he's very splitty. If he's very splitty now, I mean, imagine what he's going to be when he gets here. And if that's the case, he's not a 40 home run guy.
If you were a left-handed bat, maybe you could get there. Look at Kyle Schwarber, where he does most of his damage against righties. As a right-handed bat that does damage against lefties, you're just not going to see as many of them.
Exactly.
So it's harder to put up that kind of raw volume. Mm-hmm. By the way, how was the ballpark? I've heard mixed reviews.
Memphis, very old. It's got some cool concepts how it's built. It's just aging, and you can really tell that. But yeah.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. From the 573, in or out, at least one of those Cubs games will be a sellout when the Cardinals play them in St. Louis.
I'll say in, and I bet you it'd be Sundays.
I'll say out.
It was a day game, and now is a night game. Because I said earlier we were going in the day, it's a night game now.
I don't think they're going to sell out a game yet.
If they do, it will speak to how well they had been playing in these other 9 games prior to that.
Yeah. Well, and I also think the Cubs fan base shows up too. So like you're going to get a lot of tickets on that side of it. Rivalries always seem to do better.
It happened Sunday, but I was a little surprised Saturday didn't end up being closer to Sunday's range of 38,000 because I thought the Royals fans would travel well. No?
They did. BK was there.
Yeah, it was.
Fair.
When these
Sorry,
games,
they went on Friday.
When these games are played in Kansas City, it is majority Cardinals fans. So, yeah, no, that's...
Yeah. Sorry, T-Bone.
Oh, my
That's
bad.
not the Kansas City fan
I didn't
base.
know the Royals.
Chiefs fans.
By the way,
travel
I
well.
feel the need to say this because I was asked about it yesterday on that podcast that I went on, Viva Alberto's. I was rooting for the Cardinals to win on Friday night. I just want to say that.
So then why the hell did you wear the shirt?
But
you can't have both.
I'm a Royals fan, but I was rooting for the Cardinals.
That doesn't make any sense.
Let me explain
wearing
why.
a Cubs shirt and saying I'm rooting for the Cardinals.
I am about my profession first, my personal life second. I will be professionally far happier by the result that we saw there, especially given everything else that happened in the stands that night. That makes my life far better than the Royals winning a random meaningless game in the month of May.
Then put your money where your mouth is and burn your Bobby Witt Jr. shirt.
Yeah. Buy a win jersey.
Yeah.
Didn't you hear the crowd
Buy a
chanting
Wetherholt
win's better?
shirt.
Win is better.
Bobby-ish. Bobby-ish.
Yeah.
Bobby-ish.
I have a Brendan Donovan jersey.
Well, then why didn't you wear it?
It's not here anymore.
You can't call yourself a fan if you don't wear it.
Somebody said, so you're a poser. No.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
You're
Fraud,
a big fat phony.
liar.
That's what you are.
Use whatever adjective you want.
You take your tarp off like you're a part of this fan base.
Yeah. No,
I shun you.
Oh.
You are banished.
Do you know how good it is for us professionally if this team is really good this season? Do you know how great that would be for us?
Are you talking about the Royals or the Cardinals?
Cardinals.
Oh, okay.
It does nothing for us if the Royals are good. Nothing. Me personally, I would rather the Royals be good when they're not playing the Cardinals.
I want a guy that's going to talk baseball and have that fandom in his heart, like me and Alex.
Who bleeds red.
Yeah.
Not blue during baseball season. I bleed blue during hockey season.
I always bleed blue.
See, so you're a Chiefs, so you're a Royals fan.
Damn.
I like the Chiefs. God, you're a poser. If an NHL team ever went to Kansas City, St. Louis would just be gone.
I know.
Somebody from the
he roots for
314.
Sporting KC in that rivalry.
Doesn't even like soccer.
I got to tell you, that one does not.
I'm gonna message the Tarps Off crew and let them know on social media that you're a poser.
They probably were questioning him in a Royals jersey doing an intervw.
It's in a jersey. It's a T-shirt. From the 314, BK Tarpoff would reveal a tattoo of Bobby Witt Jr.
and his face on his back.
Shame.
Somebody said
shame
I went to the Friday game in a George Brett jersey, left wanting to cheer for the Cardinals moving forward.
No, don't.
That doesn't work.
Shout out to Bacon Wrapped Wiener on the text line.
That doesn't work. Scorsy had to make sure that everybody knew that everybody bleeds black and red. Or everybody bleeds red. So, just in case people were concerned that I actually did bleed blue, Scorsy wanted to make sure everyone knew.
Isn't blood actually like blue in your veins, and then once it gets oxygenated, it's red?
What?
Right?
I've never heard that before. Now you're making up facts?
Human blood is red. Literally, AI just gave me a sentence that said, no, blood is red. Blood is always... It said blood is always red.
Damn, perhaps these light tricks are part of what the blood in our veins
or something?
is often drawn very blue in textbooks. Over time, this has helped trick many people into thinking that our blood is blue.
AI thought this was the dumbest question. It just said, no, blood is always red. You idiot. Go back to Googling other things. That's like Googling
We've had multiple people on the text line or on the YouTube chat that say yes. That's right.
That's like Googling why is my goldfish swimming upside down? I don't think it's breathing anymore, buddy. All of the oxygen left its body, so now it's bleeding red instead of blue.
Multiple people on the text line confirming.
Yeah, well, I don't think they know either.
I think they should probably Google it.
I'd say trust an expert, not brain.
I think this is one of those things like people saying chomping at the bit. It's actually champing at the bit. But people have just for so long heard it's chomping at the bit that they believe that that's what it is.
It's champing at the bit.
Look it up.
I think look it up. I just did. Blood's always red.
Yeah, now
I'm talking
I
about
think she's
champing at the
stupid.
bit.
Yeah, I used to call it cape on makeup and the cake on makeup. Didn't know that either.
While you may be accustomed to hearing people say it's chomping at the bit or some variation thereof, the historically and grammatically correct phrasing is actually champing at the bit. The phrase refers to impatience, restlessness, or even eagerness to get on with something. Like what you're probably feeling about this segment. We'll be right back here on BK and Ferrario.
Tanner Hendrickson here, the Sports Center Update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals will be back in action tomorrow when they start a 3-game set with the Pittsburgh Pirates. 6:45 will be first pitch. Matthew Liberatore will be on the mound for St. Louis. Mitch Keller will get the start for Pittsburgh. This Sports Center Update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
I mentioned earlier, ESPN.com had a piece earlier today, Alex, on which teams across the league that are off to surprising starts are real. They said the White Sox, that's real. Tampa Bay Rays, they're real. The Pittsburgh Pirates, that's legit. Cardinals, complete and total frauds.
Yeah.
At least according to David Schoenfeld of ESPN.com.
He's a fraud, like you are.
He went through and explained why he believes that's the case and basically said, listen, they don't have strikeout stuff. I don't trust a rotation that doesn't strike people out. It doesn't often lead to success getting to the playoffs and certainly not success getting through the postseason. The only teams in the last 4 years that reached the playoffs with a bottom 10 rate in strikeout rate were the Cubs last season, the Cardinals in 2022, and then both the Rangers and the Diamondbacks in 2023. My question to you, what would have to happen for the Cardinals to become this year what the Rangers and the Diamondbacks were in 23? Those were both teams that reached the postseason in that year. The Rangers finished the season with 90 wins, ultimately went on to win the World Series. The Diamondbacks that year won 84 games, played in the Wild Card Series, swept the Brewers, then swept the Dodgers in the DS, won in 7 games against the Phillies, and ultimately we know how that all ended with them losing against the Rangers, but made it to the postseason and then went on a run once they got there. Alex, what do you think has to happen for the Cardinals to follow that path? Because neither of them had outrageous rotations that season.
Yeah, and like I'm just looking at the Diamondbacks because I think they're your best path to it. Because if I remember correctly, the Diamondbacks were incredible defensively, and that's
correct. Yeah.
Going to have to be the path for the Cardinals to be that good. And I'm just looking at their lineup, and it comes down to just depth in terms of you having guys that can continue to perform. I think what you need to have happen for me would be, one, Jordan Walker needs to maintain this the rest of the season. You're going to have that one stud bat that's there for you all season long. And then the next one is I think you're going to have some contributors that come up that aren't a part of this team, like a Lars Nootbaar, maybe a Josh Baez, something like that. But really what it comes down to is I think you're going to have to not sell and buy at the trade deadline. You're going to have to go out there and find some type of asset that can help out your rotation the rest of the way, because I don't remember if the Diamondbacks made a move that trade deadline, but I know the Rangers did when they went and got Jordan Montgomery, which proved
and Aroldis Chapman,
which proved to really help them. So you're going to have to bolster your rotation and your bullpen to maintain that type of status like the Diamondbacks or the Rangers did.
Was that the year the Diamondbacks traded for Paul Sewald?
Yeah, that was their big move. It was Sewald, and then they added they added Tommy Pham, I think, on the margins to kind of help him out.
Because their rotation was pretty much in place.
Yeah, they had their guys in the rotation that they needed to get through, but they went out and added Sewald, and he was awesome in 20 games, and he was awesome in that postseason run. I think when it comes down to it, I mean, I think you had the first step right there of Jordan Walker's got to remain what he's been, right? He's got to be an MVP level caliber bat that's in the middle of the order, and then I think it's long as guys like Burley, Herrera, Wetherholt, you can throw a win into this, be about league average. We'll see what Nootbaar is as well, be about league average. As long as you've got some depth without a bunch of significant black holes at the bottom of the order, I think you're fine. You can have one of those in there, like you could have Pages catching and he'd be a negative when it comes to his offense because of his defense. But that's the first step. And then the second step, I think it comes down to, all right, well, you've got to get McGreevy to continue pitching like this. You've got to get somebody else in this rotation to kind of really step up with him there, whether it be May or Leahy or Palante, who ends up being like could be Libby as well, be like a sub-4 ERA guy that's got just a little bit of swing and miss. Doesn't have to be a ton, but then I think it comes down to you probably need that third guy to be externally, in my opinion. I don't know if you can ask for 2 guys.
Who's
from
your
this
Brandon
rotation.
Pfaadt?
That's the thing. I think that's where you probably have to find it externally. You know, I think it's maybe May could be your Pfaadt, but then are you going to go out there and get your like Merrill Kelly or Zach Gallen? I just don't know if you're going to do that.
McGreevy's going to be one of those.
I think McGreevy could be for you what Merrill Kelly was.
Yeah, and you hope Dustin May could be Zach Gallen.
And that's a lot to ask.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's going to be what's required, basically, because it was essentially a 3-man rotation for the entire postseason for the Diamondbacks. They started Joe Mantiply as an opener in multiple games, and otherwise it was just those 3 guys. It was Gallen, it was Fott, and it was Merrill Kelly. And really, it was Kelly and Fott that got them through the postseason. Gallen was not good that year in the playoffs for them. So I don't know who your Brandon Fott is, because it's not about... Fott was not good in the regular season. And frankly, Fott has never really become that guy again in his major league career. He just was able to, for a month, put it all together and had his best stuff he's ever thrown. I don't know who that guy is for the Cardinals. I don't think they have anybody on their major league staff that's capable of it.
I think it's an outside addition.
Could it be Matthew Liberatore, though? Because Libby at times has really good stuff. It's just not consistent for him. And we've seen moments where it looks pretty good, games where it looks pretty good. Is he the one that would be most likely to go on that kind of a run out of their current rotation?
I wouldn't bet on it, because I think towards the end of the season is when he gets gassed, and that's where I'd be worried he phases out. I think the only way that Brandon Fott happens is you either acquire it like a Quintana or a Montgomery, or you hope one of these minor league guys turn into it like Yusevich did last year for Toronto.
See, I think it's more likely you find the Fott. You can't find the Gallen and Kelly. I mean, those guys were striking out 9 batters per 9 innings. I don't know if you've got 2 of those guys, let alone 1.
They didn't in the playoffs, though.
Maybe not, but that's what you like. They did that in the regular season, and for whatever reason, it didn't get there. That's where I'm looking at this, because like Fott, I think you could get, like, whether it be May, if you want to put Libby in this conversation, I can hear it on Libby, because at times you're right, he does have it. I think at times Palante's got swing and miss stuff. I mean, look at him yesterday; he had, I think, 13 swings and misses. So I think you can find the Fott. The question is, who's going to be the Merrill Kelly? Who's going to be the Zach Gallens of the rotation there at the top?
And I would say those 2 are McGreevy and May.
I think McGreevy can be one of them. I don't know about the second one. To me, you're one starter, definitely one starter short, and I think it could potentially end up being 2, maybe even 3 because of a lack of swing and miss. But I can hear, like, if you told me, hey, McGreevy's going to be your 2022 Michaelis / Wainwright in 2021, I'd go, okay, we've seen that. That can work. Okay, that makes sense to me. Once we get to that second person conversation, I go, there's nobody I feel confident in. I think you could say we would feel good about May potentially at the end of the year, or Libby to go, like, hopefully 5 and dive like they would do with Quintana in 22. I have a tough time on that second one with the Merrill Kelly one.
It was basically the same thing for the Rangers that year, where they get into the postseason and it's Eovaldi and Montgomery. Those were the 2 guys that they trusted, and then they would just hold their breath whenever Andrew Heaney or Max Scherzer started a game. Be like, can you guys please get us through 4? If you can, we'll probably be okay. We'll hand this thing over to the bullpen. We'll hope to God that that's enough, and maybe Dane Dunning and Cody Bradford can extend this thing to our back-end guys, and we can close it all down. And fingers crossed our offense is good. But it was Eovaldi and it was Montgomery. Those were the 2 guys that they trusted. So if you've got a top 2 in your rotation, if that's McGreevy, Libby, May, Palante, whoever it ends up becoming, you've got a shot. It's about getting there first, and I do think these are the formula, those 2 teams, and that required some pretty impressive contributions from everybody to be able to get there. You needed consistency out of your rotation, and then, like, you go back to the Diamondbacks that season. It was a great year out of Ketel Marte, and Corbin Carroll came up and was a monster for them. And then you look over at Texas, Simeon and Seager were incredible. And then down the stretch of that season, you had Mitch Garver, who came up and was awesome for them as well. Evan Carter came up and was outrageous once they got to the postseason. So it was young guys plus a couple of staples in your lineup. For the Cardinals, that would basically be like if they have, Ivan Herrera and Alec Burleson showing out, and then Walker and Wetherholt continue to do what they've done this season. So if you're looking for recent history to serve as your guide on what this could look like, if what we've seen so far this year does become something more real, I think you are looking to the 2023 season as your guide, and those are the teams that you would look at as this is as probably the best case scenario of what 2026 could be for the Cardinals. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. The Rewind is next. It was time for us to get a new TV. We had an old one in the living room, and the processing speed was just too slow. You guys know the feeling. You turn on Netflix, it takes 10 minutes just for you to load the app, much less to actually find something that you want to watch. So we decided to get a new one over the last week or so, which means we've got an old TV hanging out in our house. We know exactly what we're going to do with it. We're going to take it over to Pay More. If you haven't checked them out yet, it is time to do so. Go to maplewoodmo.paymore.com. That's maplewoodmo.paymore.com. It's a new store in the neighborhood out in Maplewood. They will give you cash for your old electronics. Check out this recent review from Lisa over on their website. Wow, never knew that you could recycle electronics and receive cash for your items. Thankful to you, Olivia and Calvin. They were helpful, friendly, and knowledgeable about the items. Thanks again for the great visit to your store. You can check them out today. It's over in Maplewood, Missouri. They will give you cash for your old electronics, and if they can't, they will go ahead and recycle it for you over there at Paymore. Check them out today. maplewoodmo.paymore.com. That's maplewoodmo.paymore.com. This is a fun show. If you guys missed any of it, check it out on the podcast page. 101ESPN.com and the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. It's all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
You can see Alex and I going tarps off in the open.
Hell yeah. Bodies for it.
YouTube.com/101ESPN
T-Bone wussed out.
That's all right.
Like always.
Full disclosure, I tried buying T-Bone a muscle shirt over the weekend.
Like people wear in the pool when they don't want to take their shirts off?
Well, the pretend one where it's got all the abs cut out for you. I bought it on Amazon. It was purchased. It was ready to go, and then they said it was delayed. So it'll be here on Thursday, T-Bone.
T-Bone, you go tarps off on Thursday.
Be ready to go
Hell yeah.
you heading into this
for the
weekend
Pirates
series.
Why not, you know?
It'll be old news by then, buddy.
We talked a lot about the Cardinals, the vibe at the at Busch Stadium over the weekend. All of that can be found on the podcast page. We also talked a little bit of blues as well. You can find that on the podcast page. You can find the latest edition of the Last Minute Blues podcast and the Redbird Report at youtube.com/101ESPNSTL. Tomorrow, looking forward to it, we will have Derek Gould for his weekly hit here on the show. We will also talk to Jeremy Rutherford, talk to him each and every Tuesday, and here's the big one. We've got Oli Marmol, the Cardinals manager, joining us tomorrow here on BK and Ferrario. My belief is that will be right off the top, so be sure to tune in right at 11 o'clock. I think he might be in studio, but be sure to tune in tomorrow. Oli Marmol here on BK and Ferrario, so let all your friends know. The manager of the team, the guy that you might seem to like now, a little bit more than you did, 72 hours ago. He's going to be on with us
and his tarps will be off.
I can't promise you that, but he'll
tarp comes off, my tarp comes off.
We'll peer pressure him into it. It's fine.
All I can do is that I can promise you that we have reached out to him. He has said he will come on, and that's all I got. And the expectation is it'll be
You're not doing your job if you didn't ask if he's okay with tarps off.
You can reach out to him.
I will.
You can ask.
You're like, Ollie, look, man, T-Bone has made an ultimatum that if your tarp comes off, his tarp comes off, and the ladies want to see T-Bone tarp off.
That'd be a good way to get your first date, T-Bone.
Do that.
Yeah. T-Bone's Tinder tarps off.
I saw this guy on YouTube. He talks sports for a living.
He looked great.
So hot.
He looked great. He's so hot.
For Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. The Fast Lane's next here on 101 ESPN.
Ali!